What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flagrant. Today we are joined by filmmaker, investigator, UFO and extraterrestrial expert, could we say?
People used to go believer, and I think that's such a crock because you don't believe, and you either know about something or you don't know about something. It's not a question of believing. What it is that's the question. But yeah, so you know, UFO investigator, filmmaker, James Fox.
We got James Fox.
What's up, brother?
And James is going to break down why aliens do exist, why they're coming here, and I mean, he's got it all. And one of the most compelling pieces of evidence to prove these theories.
Yes.
I would call it, you know, because people go, well, what's the one case? You know, like, what's the one photograph?
We want to hear all.
We have really good, we have really good photographs. Because people go, where's the good photographs? It's like, well, you want to start in 1947? Do you want to go to 1950? Do you want to go to the 60s? You know, and I could say, okay, how would you define a good photograph of a UFO? Points of reference, multiple eyewitnesses, broad daylight. Sounds pretty good. McMinnville, Oregon, 1950. Paul Trent and his wife Evelyn took 2 or 3 snapshots of a disc over their house in McMinnville, Oregon. Very good, man. And it was subjected to just so much scientific analysis, and the witnesses to the day they died maintained this thing and how it flew and all that stuff. Very good case. McMinnville, Oregon, right there. So
and this isn't like a doctored photo. Keep in mind,
hell no. These were broken.
These things as a comedian with a level of skepticism and
he's a New Yorker.
As you should.
And also don't believe in anything.
Yeah. As you should. But this case was dissected. They wanted so badly to debunk this case, and they couldn't. It's a really, really good case. You got, you'll see multiple prints.
What year is this?
This is 1950, McMinnville, Oregon.
Was it common to have a camera?
You know what's really funny? So I talked to the reporter's son who actually reported on this case. Yeah. Because when I went to publicize, I actually did a whole piece on it for a film I did called The Phenomenon. And the lawyer goes, well, you know, you need to contact the guy that wrote the Life magazine article. I was like, he's fucking dead, dude. That was 1950. What are you talking about? He goes, well, I don't know. He's got family. I'm like, come on. This is just me documenting Life 1950. Yeah. He goes, I don't care. So I got in touch with the family. The son who wrote the Life magazine article in 1950 said that the reporter for, it was his dad, the reporter for Life magazine shows up, and he was reluctant to, the guy who took the pictures, Paul Trent, he was reluctant. He was like, well, I still have like 5 or 6 prints left to take on that camera. And the guy goes, the reporter, he goes, we'll give you a new roll, we'll give you a new camera, and we'll give you some money, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay. So he got the pictures, and the pictures were these really romantic. They were entering a contest for like the biggest zucchinis or whatever in the garden, and he had his wife, posing with this kind of like sexy kind of, and he was taking pictures of his wife. He's taking pictures of his wife, but it's just a really funny backstory to it,
The only state in the union that has legal prostitution, I think, is Nevada, right? And that's why they're going to Roswell. They're going to Brazil.
But Roswell's in New Mexico. That's not Nevada.
Oh, fuck. Prostitution might be legal there, too. Don't mess up the joke, James. But also Brazil, they're going to Brazil. Like,
baddies down there.
You spent 17 years looking for aliens in Brazil.
I know.
How do you explain that to your girlfriend?
Yeah, I gotta go back.
Some of those bodies are built like aliens.
So I get heckled all the time, but today's heckling is so much less than it was when I first started this stuff.
That's interesting.
People used to heckle
You were quack back in the day. Now people kind of believe it, huh?
I had a neighbor, and I was really offended by this at the time, but he didn't know that. And I was in my 20s, and I was making my second documentary. I was probably 29. I was making my second documentary out of the blue at the time, and I was just about to go to Russia, and I was taking this stuff really seriously, and I was really trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. And this guy, my neighbor, is one of these guys, like Wall Street guys, all suit and tie, drove a Porsche, and we always kind of saw each other from a distance. And one time I was living on this houseboat, and he lived next door, and we were walking down the plank. I was going towards him, he was coming my way, and he goes, "Oh, you're a UFO boy," like that. And I was like, "Yeah, whatever," And then he's like, tell me you don't actually believe in any of this shit like that. Super offensive, right? And I was like, no, man, I just do it for the money. And of course I was broke, right, at the time. But that was just what I was subjected to for decades. But then the 2017 article came out in the New York Times, and it revealed the secret Pentagon UFO program, and the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Harry Reid, who was behind that secret Pentagon program that started 10 years earlier, that started to kind of validate the phenomenon, for sure.
So you think everything changed in 2017?
Big time. No question. Because
I'm not familiar with that program, but I do feel like the sentiment has absolutely changed.
So basically what happened was there were a couple of people, the official story, that were investigating UFOs along, there was a thing, I think it was like OSAP, then it evolved into ATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. You can look it up. Yeah, there's the article. And Leslie Kane, who's a friend of mine, wrote that along with Helene Cooper and Ralph Blumenthal. But in any case, the former Senate Majority Leader at the time, Senator Harry Reid, had quietly investigated and launched an investigation 10 years earlier with Senator Inouye and another Republican senator. And I think they put away like $22 million just to do some quiet. Never was supposed to get made public. But there were two people in protest of excessive secrecy roughly 10 years later. One of them was Lou Elizondo. And he worked with this guy who was the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, Christopher Mellon, snuck some evidence that was like quasi-classified, but not quite classified. Like they knew that they found a loophole, and they literally walked it out of the Pentagon and onto the front page of the New York Times. And one of those was that now notorious Tic Tac clip.
Yes.
Where you see that little object, you know, and then obviously all the pilots that saw it too, that laid eyes on this thing.
Go on.
Anyway, and so that kind of like got mainstream media and a lot of people to realize like, holy shit, there's something going on here. And that really launched lots of investigations.
Because we couldn't explain the
propulsion,
the science behind it. Is it possible that like as we've started to experience more fascinating bits of science, object propulsion, drones, all of a sudden the idea of aliens having them becomes more understandable? Like, is that what has changed the popular sentiment?
So here's a big misconception with the phenomenon, right? So there was a guy who investigated UFOs in an official capacity for the United States Air Force from 47 to 69. His name is Dr. J. Allen Hynek. And he broke down, and this is all in the records that I can give you multiple cases that he worked on directly with the Air Force. He actually broke down sightings to close encounters of the first, second, and third kind. This was back in the 50s. Right? Because
what's the first kind?
First kind is when someone sees a UFO.
Second kind?
Second kind, someone sees a UFO and the UFO interacts with the environment. Maybe it lands, leaves prints on the ground, photographed, radar, burns someone's face, like in the case of Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters. Those were real cases that came out of Project Blue Book, the Air Force files. Close encounter of the third kind is when witnesses report entities connected to the craft. So that's Hynek right there. So the Air Force knew way back when, and I can give you some cases to justify what I'm saying. The Air Force knew what they were dealing with was not just weather balloons, misidentified aircraft, Russia, or anybody else, because of the reports coming in, some of them extremely credible, of entities connected to the craft. And these craft exhibited a technology that was light years advanced back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. No wings, no tail, no visible means of propulsion, no sound. They could hover. They could literally accelerate from a standstill to out of sight in the blink of an eye without creating a sonic boom, without any air disturbance, minimal sound. Some people heard a little humming. So if you take like the Tic Tac in 2004, I think it was, off the coast of San Diego.
This is the Tic Tac?
That might be the Tic Tac in different, in variations. It'll shoot off to the left.
USS Nimitz encounter.
Yeah, okay, so you take that and you compare what the pilots saw, okay? They'll describe this Tic Tac shaped craft with no wings, no tail, that was hovering and the airplane was flying right at it, and then it just shoots off to the left so fast. I mean, the pilots that saw it, that wasn't on the tape, said it was like, it made a mockery out of my fastest, out of our fighter jets. Like it literally flew rings around me. Like Dave Fravor, if you listen to his testimony, he'll describe this object. It was like a Tic Tac. And it was shooting around over the ocean. And I also interviewed people that say that they come from space and they shoot down to sea level in less than a second. That's another story we could talk about in a minute. But they're shooting around over over the ocean, like just like he said, kind of randomly, just kind of doing this. What the hell is that? So he tells his guy in the back seat, we're going to go check this out. One of the planes, there were 2 planes. One of them stays kind of hovering above at whatever thousands of feet above. And Dave Fravor, the pilot, says he did a corkscrew dive down towards it because he was going to go check it out, get some eyes on it. And he goes, damn me, man, this thing suddenly just reacted to me coming at it, and it mimicked my behavior, but in the opposite direction. Now it's coming up at me. So it's coming up, and he's going down, and they're going at each other like this, okay? And he's like, holy, that's when things like, whoa, this thing's reaction. There's an intelligence here. It's not just some random thing. And then he said, well, I know where he's coming, so I'm going to cut him off. I'm going to do a loop maneuver and just get right at him, like intersect this guy. And he said at that point, he did that loop and he was coming upon him. And he said there was this like, he's called it a Tic Tac. He said there were no vents, no wings, no, what am I looking at here? What is my backseat person? What's our radar looking at? Like, what is this thing? And then he goes, James, like had I blinked, this thing took off, like in the blink of an eye, just gone. Like just, 100 times faster than our jets, right? Now here's the kicker part. It goes to what's called their cap point, which is the predetermined Latin launch, which is like almost beating its chest. Like, yeah, I'm already one step ahead of you guys. I know where your Latin launch is. Like, so there's...
It goes to where their latitude and longitude.
Yeah, there's like a prearranged Latin launch before the operation goes down. You can look up CAP. It's an acronym, but I don't know what
essentially, it went to a point on the map that the original plane, the United States plane, was supposed to go to.
Yeah, so
which would dictate that it was aware of the information.
Yeah, which would... But so here's the crazy part. So I interviewed a United States Air Force colonel by the name of William T. Coleman. He was also a World War II pilot.
Before you move on this one. Does it have to do with this?
Very much so.
Okay, good.
So I interviewed him. He had an encounter in the 50s. And when you listen to his testimony about what he saw in terms of technology in the 50s, I think it was like 1955 over Alabama, and you compare that to the testimony from Fravor and all the other pilots, it's the same. They describe the same technology. The shape is a little different, but it's the same technology. It's exactly the same things.
What happens to these people that are in the military that come out with this information?
It's changing recently.
But initially,
whereas before it was like,
happen?
Keep your mouth shut.
So, first of all, do you empathize with that decision from the military perspective?
So, initially, yes, but now, no.
Okay. And I want to get into both of those reasons. Initially, yes. Why?
Because you want to find out what the fuck's going on. Before
you cause mass hysteria. And they do have a responsibility to protect the public. So
absolutely.
The initial understanding would be...
Yeah, so like you can imagine, and there have been people that have made attempts to get the general public out there. I mean, I could go back to the 50s and 40s and 60s, whatever. But, by revealing what you know, especially like back in the 40s and 50s, you'd have to reveal your vulnerabilities, the things that you don't know, right? Case in point, there was an incredible consecutive 2-weekend encounter over the Capitol and the White House back in July of 1952. And they scrambled military jets to intercept it. I was told that one of them was shot and a piece fell down, but that's another story. But they had a big press conference. General John Sanford addressed the world. It was the biggest press conference since the end of World War II. And he basically admits, he's like, people are seeing these extraordinary things. The radar indicated these things were flying rings around our jets. That was 1952, like 2 consecutive weekends. They kind of went pretty far at the time. The press conference by General Sanford is like pretty damn compelling if you listen to it. He's pretty much saying like people are seeing some extraordinary things.
And these aren't go.
Like Tic Tac objects, that
and these aren't dishonorable figures, right? Like
not at all.
But you hire somebody that was a higher up in the military because you can trust them. They can keep secrets and they're reliable. They're disciplined individuals.
Yeah.
A lot of times when the people in the military,
we trust them with the security of our nuclear weapons.
Exactly. So it's like, so this is what I'm trying to understand. It's like, why do we stop trusting them once they start sharing this information?
They don't internally, they do externally.
Not they. I'm saying, why does the public? Why do the public start to go? Oh, these guys are quacks. Yeah, these guys are crazy.
That's a very good question.
Well, why do you think
that philosophy was adopted in 1953 by the Robertson panel, where they basically got together the CIA with the group triggered by this event, and they were like, well, we can't exactly deny it, but we can ridicule those who claim to have seen them, and that was a very effective campaign.
And why would they ridicule them?
Well, it's a debunking technique.
But
right?
why is it so important to debunk them?
Well, because they don't know what the hell's going on, and they want to just evaluate what's going on. They need to hit the pause button, and they're going to make a joke out of people seeing UFOs.
Got it. Okay, and we still just kind of don't know what's going on.
We still kind of do it this thing. So forget about whether you believe it or don't believe it, right? Let's just like suspend that for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine if there were objects of unknown origin exhibiting revolutionary technology. They don't have any wings, no tail, no propulsion. They fly rings around our fastest jets. They don't have a Russian or a Chinese flag on them, right? They make a mockery out of our military. They're coming and going as they please. They're coming in and out of the oceans. They're coming in down from space. We can't catch them. We can't stop them. We can't shoot them down. Or maybe we couldn't back then. We don't know who they are, where they come from, what they want. Do you really think that any person in a position of power is going to want to come forward and make that statement to the world? Hey, by the way,
we're fucked.
We got these objects, and shall they turn to be hostile? We have no visible means of defense against them. We don't know who they are, where they come from, what they want. Thank you and good night.
This is where I'm curious. Like now, it's been over 70 years, and we haven't been
almost 80 years.
Yeah, 80 years, and we haven't been attacked. Like nothing bad has happened from aliens to humans. Why still keep things under wrap?
Okay. So again, we'll talk hypotheticals. Let's just say hypothetically that the U.S. government has definitive proof that we're not alone. Okay. Let's say they have captured that technology. Let's say whether it's Roswell or Kingman or any of Kecksburg 65. That's
a big jump, though.
Yeah, but
not alone to now we've captured their technology.
That would be the definitive proof needed, right?
Yeah.
You'd have to have you need more than a photograph and radar. Let's say you actually have hardware. Forget about the bodies, but we'll talk about the bodies.
Got it.
But let's just say you have hardware, all right? Whether you believe it or don't believe it, let's just imagine for a moment it's true.
We're on board.
Okay, so how do you tell the world without sharing that technology that could be weaponized, okay, and turned against us? How do you tell the world you have that technology? How do you do it? You're going to let Russia know? You can't tell your friends without your enemies. So you have something
even if you tell them, it's like we have control of it.
Why would it be used against us?
The scientific community is going to go show us. Bullshit, you have it. Oh, now we're going to take some select members of the scientific community and we're going to show them the technology we have in a bunker somewhere at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Would we then be attacked by our adversaries?
Well, I'm just saying,
out of the fear.
Let's just say, again, hypothetically here, let's just say that you got one of these fucking craft and you're like, holy shit, imagine if we could put a bomb on this thing. This thing flies rings around all the military craft. Holy, this technology is incredible. Of course they're going to want to weaponize it. That's what they do. Yeah, that's what the military does.
We came up with
you damn straight, you think they're going to give it to Russia or the Chinese? Hell no.
But look, we came up with nukes. We didn't give them the information on how to make it.
True, but we
showed the world that hey, we got two of these things.
That is true. That is true.
So we just do that with.
So I'm at the place now where let's acknowledge that we have it. How exactly we go about that, I don't know.
And what is it?
I think we have recovered craft.
So you think we have recovered craft?
I do.
Do you think we've reverse engineered the technology?
That I'm on the fence with.
Okay, so before we get into that, why do you think we have recovered craft?
Because I've investigated cases, one in Italy, 1933. Then we did Roswell in 1947, and I knew probably 8 people firsthand about the Roswell case. I also
Area 51 is in New Mexico.
No, Area 51's in Nevada.
That's how my joke works.
Yeah,
I knew. I was like, it's in Nevada. I watched Independence Day. Quick tour announcements. We're about to release a bunch of dates that we'll be going to in the fall. We've set up this system where you can literally text Schultz to 858-758-2309, or you just go to DeAndrewSchultz.com and you drop your phone number in the website, and you will be notified if we are coming to a place near you, or you'll be notified early when we are going to release those tickets. Okay, I know that we've been playing a lot of these clubs, and the clubs are not that big, so the tickets might go quickly. This is how we get the hour ready and how we, get ready to do the tour. So that's going to be happening in the fall. I want to give you guys, obviously, the people who are listening to the Soul Asshole Army, the opportunity to get them first. So if you go text that or you go to the website, fill it out, they're going to give you first access to absolutely everything. And I want you guys to get that. I appreciate how much you guys support. Also, Halifax will be there August 8th at Garrison Grounds, man. Halifax, Nova Scotia, August 8th. Going to be an amazing show out there, outdoors, insane. And we've got an absolutely incredible show for you guys to go see. So come indulge. And yeah, go check that out for updates. And very excited to release this next batch of shows, man.
What's up, people? Great news. I'm going to be coming to a bunch of cities at the end of the year to do stand-up comedy. I would love for you guys to join me. I'm going to Plano, Texas, Chandler, Arizona, Pasadena, California, San Diego, Detroit, and Salt Lake City. I would love for y'all to come on out. I'll see you guys at the shows.
Let me back up a little bit here because I want you guys to know how slowly this process took for me, because I had a really good friend in high school, Renee. Shout out to Renee. And when we graduated, when we graduated from high school, he's like, "Hey man, let's go to Europe and drive across Europe, and we'll buy a car in London and we'll drive down to, and we did this total cool adventure and we had a great time, and it turned out to be way more expensive, and our car was breaking down half the time. We ran out of gas, got flat tires, and he was always hungry. Renee was just like, man, I'm fucking hungry all the time in Europe. The portions are so small and everything's so expensive. Like, he was just complaining about being hungry the whole time. And we laughed. Anyway, he ended up going home early. And then I stayed on for a bit longer, like another year or two. And when I came home, Renee was who was one of my best friends from high school. He was suddenly he was like, yeah, man, there's a UFO crash in Roswell and UFOs this and that, the other thing. And I was like, this guy's lost his mind. Like, I remember distinctly thinking, this is so unfortunate. I'm losing one of my best friends. I'm gonna have to cut this guy loose because I can't be associated with crazy. So at the time I was apprenticing in a video production company in San Francisco, and I casually mentioned it to my buddy, this guy, Richard, and Richard goes, oh yeah, dude, you didn't know about Roswell? I was like, I mean, I heard about it, but no, of course I did. He goes, yeah, actually the government admitted they recovered it, and then they recanted, but most of the people that recanted later came forward. I was like, really? Really? And so I started looking into it, and slowly I was like, holy shit, that is true. If you look at people that posed in the photograph in Roswell in 1947, it was Colonel DuBose, General Roger Ramey, and what was his name? Jesse Marcel. He was an intelligence officer. And Jesse Marcel came forward in like the 70s, and DuBose, I think, came forward and maybe a little later before they died on camera, and they said they made us pose with bullshit. That's a regular targeted thing. They threw it on the ground. The real debris wreckage was on the B-29 sitting at Fort Worth. That was taken at Fort Worth. And
so what are we looking at right there?
So you're looking at a target. You're looking at a conventional weather balloon on the floor. That's General. That's a Colonel DuBose. Well, I could show you. In the photo to the right, you'll see a General, Roger Ramey, and then the guy to the right of that, I believe, is Colonel DuBose, and then the guy to the far left is Intelligence Officer Jesse Marcel. Jesse Marcel and DuBose basically came forward before they died and said, no, man, the original story was true. Marcel said it was not of this earth. I was friends with his son who handled the debris. Like, if you listen to what they actually recovered, if you listen to the amount of debris they recovered, and you just and there's been so much, we can go on all day about this one case. There's been so much firsthand witnesses coming forward for so long that I'm convinced that what crashed there, the initial story of it not being of terrestrial or of Earth origin, is true. Again, we don't want to get bogged down in Roswell, but I'm convinced. Then I started looking at other cases. I started looking at a case that occurred in Kingman, Arizona in 1953. I started looking into a place called Incident Kecksburg in 1965. Leslie Kane investigated that case with John Podesta, and they actually won a lawsuit against NASA on that, or NASA was forced to pay a lot of their legal fees.
Clinton's Podesta?
Yeah. And and I started looking at, there was like a landing case that happened in 1980 at Bentwaters, England, and then I started investigating Varginha
This is the Brazilian.
The Brazil case. And funny enough, when I was making my second UFO documentary, it was in the late 90s, and I was working with a guy named Tim Coleman, and he's a British guy. And we were like kind of mapping out all the different cases that we were going to investigate. There was an incredible case that just happened in 97 at Phoenix Lights case, fascinating case. Massive boomerang-shaped craft that flew over the state of Arizona in the late afternoon, early evening, and everyone was out under the night sky to get a glimpse of the Hale-Bopp comet. So it was witnessed by thousands of people, including the governor. Great case. Anyway, we put that on there. We put Bentwaters, England, 1980. We were looking into this one case that happened in Tehran, Iran in 1975 with General, think of his name in a second, Parviz Jafari. And my buddy goes, oh yeah, mate, we got to do this one case that happened in Varginha, Brazil, with these live aliens, a UFO crash, and these live aliens were walking around the town. And I thought, oh my God, this guy's nuts. So I just looked at him and I was like, shit, I just picked the wrong partner. This guy's crazy. Like, there's no way I'm going to spend 1 second looking into that absolute complete nonsense of a case. And I didn't. I made Out of the Blue. I did a director's cut of Out of the Blue, which took me several more years. And then I did another film called I Know What I Saw. And it was a 2-hour special. And then I got invited to Brazil. This is like 10 plus years later. And a buddy of mine, who was former head of TriStar Pictures, he lives here in New York City, Jeff Sagansky, and he'd always been very instrumental in kind of helping me make deals when I was like really struggling on my own behind the scenes. And one day I was just like, Jeff, how come you're so kind? You help me out. You never take, when you make a sale, you never ask for it. You just, and he goes, James, I was really good friends, and I'm sidetracking, but I'll get back to my point here in a second. I was friends with that actor that was in, I'll think of it, Jackie Gleason. And Jackie Gleason told me on a movie set one time, don't listen to what anyone ever says to you. I know for a fact, UFOs are real, blah, blah, blah. And he remembered that. And when he saw me, this little independent, guy out there trying to get answers on the UFOs, he was helping me out. He found out I was going to Brazil. I was 41 at the time. And he goes, oh, James, I had a lot of respect for him because he's been really helpful for me over the years. Like, Jeff was like, thank you, Jeff. But he goes, yeah, you got to go investigate the Varginha case. When you go there, and I was like, oh my God, not this crackpot. You got to be kidding me. Like, how many people drank the Kool-Aid on this, But I had so much respect for him that I couldn't just dismiss it. So I was like, sure, Jeff. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that for you while I'm there, for sure. Yeah, just click. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not going to waste 1 second on that case. And then I went to Brazil, unrelated. I got invited to talk about another film I made, and I met some witnesses, and I thought, And then I met the guy who pretty much single-handedly, along with Kevin Randall and Don Schmidt and Stanton Friedman, who pretty much are the reasons why we know about Roswell. They wrote the books on it and interviewed a lot of the witnesses. And Stanton Friedman just happened to be in Brazil that time, invited to the same conference. And Stanton goes, don't be so dismissive, James. This could turn out to be the Roswell of Brazil. And based on that and the recommendations, I said, okay, Stanton, I'll look into it. So I started looking into it. And I was like, probably 5 years into it. And I was like, holy shit, I think this happened. And now I put my life on it. Yeah.
And what?
If I had to put my life on it, didn't happen, it happened.
What is it that happened?
A cylindrical shaped UFO crashed and entities survived.
Take us through the whole story.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much time do we have? So it was January, I think like 13th or 14th, 1996. And there's the town of Varginha, Brazil, which is about 5 hours to the north of Sao Paulo in the state of Minas Gerais. And there was a guy that was Carlos de Souza. He was flew those ultralight airplanes. He was also a geography teacher. And he was driving up to go ultralight flying. It was very early in the morning. And he was just outside of the town of Varginha, just outside. He was near a farm called the Mailini Farm. And he saw this like cylindrical shaped like cigar kind of thing, shiny, with a tear in the back and some weird vapor smoke coming out. I was like, what the heck? It was really early in the morning. He was driving up. And he's like, God, that thing looks like it's going to crash. Like, what is that? Is that some kind of blimp? What is that? Is it a blimp? Like, he didn't know what he was looking at. And it was like this cigar shape. And he said it was a little larger than a big school bus in America. So he's watching this thing. And he's like, that thing's going down, man. And it went down on this farm, Myelini farm, and he got off the freeway that he was on, and he went up this dirt road. He's like, shit, those guys need help. So I'm the guy never once thought otherworldly, right? So he drives up this dirt road, he gets up there, and he comes upon a debris field, really large debris field. Most of the craft was broken up into little pieces, but there was a big part of the craft, still had probably half of it, that was intact. And he jumps out of the car, and he was expecting the smell of diesel or airplane fuel or whatever, but it didn't. It was like ammonia and rotten, like he said, it was so intense, the smell, that his eyes were watering. He grabbed his T-shirt and he was holding it over his face, and it was, God, what the hell is this weird smell and this material? And he picks up one of the pieces, and he said it was like light as a feather. Like he said it was so light, like you barely feel it in your hands. And he kind of crumpled it up. And then he said he let it go, and it just took its shape back. And he said, oh my God, this must be some kind of experimental craft, government craft or something.
This is what year?
1996. So just then, coming in the opposite direction that he drove up, military trucks, and they come down. He was threatened at gunpoint, told to leave. There's a whole backstory on all the things that happened to him. He came forward once and he vanished for over 20 years. So he's gone. So about a week later, there were 3 girls, and there was a bunch of other things as well, in the town of Varginha. And they were taking a shortcut, broad daylight, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're taking a shortcut during this little cinder block wall. There was like building a house project and a field with kind of quasi-tall grass. And there were 3 girls, Liliani, Valkyria, and Katya. And they were 14, 16, and 20, 21. And they were coming across this tall grass, again, broad daylight. And one of them said they saw some graffiti on the wall. It was like a cinder block wall in this field, but with the wall. And she's like, I saw graffiti, and I was looking at the graffiti, and we were keep walking through, and all of a sudden I saw like what looked like a statue of some weird creature, like looking at the thing, what the hell is that? And it was crouched kind of down, like it was suffering, like really suffering in the hot heat. It was summertime, January, summertime in Brazil. And it was kind of suffering, and it was whole, and it had a big head, and it had big eyes, no hair, spindly arms and legs, maybe 3.5 to 4 feet tall, according to the girls. And it was slouched down, suffering. And one of the girls just screamed, cause like that. And it turned and it locked eyes with them. So at which point, Liliani was 16, Valkyria was 14. Liliani thought about her younger sister. Oh my God, this could be the devil. Like they had these red eyes, big, they were scared shitless. She grabs her sister, yanks her out of there, and they hightail it out of there. They get about 100 yards away or whatever, maybe a little more. They realize Katya, who's 21, is still there, and it's locked eyes with this creature. So she leaves her younger sister there, and she's like, I gotta go get Katya. She runs back, and she grabs Katya, and Katya to this day is like, it was saying to me, help me if you can help me, and if not, please leave me alone, don't hurt me. Like she said, it was vulnerable, it was scared, it was suffering, it was weak. It looked like it was affected heavily by the hot sun. Like the skin was like excreting like oil, like it was just suffering, according to them. They all eventually hightail it out of there. And then about 2 hours later, there was a police officer, Eric Lopes, and this guy, Marco Shrees. And I don't know how much detail you guys want me to get into here, but they, about 2 or 3 blocks away, they were on the lookout for something unusual, but the military didn't say that they were military police. And in Brazil, if you're with the fire department, you're military. If you're with the flight control officer, you're still military. If you're with the police department, you're still military. So these guys were out on patrol for something unusual. They didn't say, hey, UFO crashed and there's aliens walking around. So they come upon this weird, strange creature, which is just a couple blocks away from where the girls had the encounter, just like 2 hours later.
A separate strange creature.
Yes, but it because of proximity, it's got to be the same one, but we don't know for sure.
Because it's a different time.
It's just 2 hours later, three blocks away. They come upon this thing. And Marco Cherise, the military officer who's 23 years old, leaps out the back. They hit the brakes, leaps out the back of the car, grabs it with his bare hands, and takes it to regional hospital ultimately, and alive. And he, in the process, either had a scratch under his arm or got a scratch under his arm, and he died within 2 weeks of some blood in some infection caused under here. So, and there were other sightings in the town, and fire department, chief of police.
Did he get to the hospital with it?
Yes. Yes. So obviously, Marco Cherise, we spent probably 8 years tracking down the doctor who worked on him while he was still alive, Dr. Cesario. And then after he died, he was autopsied. We interviewed the forensic pathologist that did the autopsy and provided tissue samples to the guy who owned the company that did the examination of the bacteria that they found. But those two forensic pathologists recently came forward in the last year or two, and you guys could show clips that I gave you of their testimony. But he said that it was an advanced, highly virulent bacteria that's extremely rare on Earth, but had evolved in a way that he's never seen on Earth since, or before or since. And that this bacteria, and then Dr. Cesario, who worked on him while he was alive, goes, we did everything we could to save. I've never seen anything like it. We threw the kitchen sink at him and he just died.
And this is a military officer that died.
Yes, the military officer, Marco Cherise, died.
To have the scratch.
Yes, he got it like under one of his armpits. But we interviewed Dr. Cesario, we interviewed Dr. I'll think of the two forensic pathologists' names in a second. I got too many names swirling. But anyway, in any case, and there were lots of other people that saw lots of military activity. People's lives were threatened when they got within a certain area, tried to go investigate. We interviewed the press that tried to go investigate. They were threatened with jail time.
The alien at the hospital? Who cares about So the alien goes to the hospital.
So we think there were probably 3, maybe 4, up to 5 different creatures. 2 of them pretty much confirmed dead. At least one remained alive up to a certain point.
The one who grabbed it? Cherise grabbed
Marco
it?
Cherise, yeah.
And then Lopes was with him?
Eric Lopes was the driver.
Was the driver?
Yes.
Okay. Anything happened to Lopes?
I went to his house to get him on camera because he was MIA for 26, 27 years. And everyone's like, he won't talk to anybody. He's completely he won't even talk to the family. He ended up marrying the sister of the guy who died, his good friend. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But in any case, there's so many other little aspects of the story. People that did, other doctors that did, working with the military very discreetly. It's in a film I did called Moment of Contact. I spent years investigating.
But you're saying that an alien was brought to the hospital?
A creature, yes.
A creature was brought to the hospital?
Yes.
Who
At
else
least one.
sees the creature at the hospital?
So, it's a good question. So without giving away some of my people in the field that have been quietly feeding us information for well over a decade, we had leads that we had some names from a number of people that worked at regional hospital, but there was also testimony from Humanitas Hospital. There was Humanitas Hospital and Regional Hospital and one other hospital that's in the area. And we approached one of the neurosurgeons that was on duty that night that we heard that he had possibly seen him with video, because a lot of the neurosurgeons at various hospitals, Humanitas, had cameras and they would perform different procedures and they would share that footage with other, people in that department. Hey, how did I do? Da, da, da.
Sure.
So we had heard that there was a Dr. Italo Venturelli, who was a neurosurgeon, who was shown footage of the creature at regional. So we started going after him, and lots of others.
Shown footage, though.
Shown footage, yes.
Who are the doctors that see the creature?
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So we're going after this guy, Dr. Italo. Yeah, I mean, we're going after everybody, and it's people are afraid. This is like been a slow, long investigation. People are terrified. People were threatened. Like, there's so many things to lose and nothing to gain by coming forward. But in any case, we approached Dr. Italo, and to my absolute shock and amazement, a couple of years ago, via Zoom call with my buddy Marco, boots on the ground, Leal, we hit him up, and he confesses, yes, I did see the video, and he gave us the name of the guy who shot the video, Marcos Vinicius, a fellow neurosurgeon. But when we pressed him further on anything else, he was like, no, I didn't see anything else. That's all I know. This guy shot the video. And of course, the guy that shot the video is dead. So we're like, great. So he then has a heart attack. Dr. Italo has a heart attack. I'm putting you guys to sleep. No,
I'm like locked in.
Dr. Italo has a heart attack, and he's lying in the ICU staring at the ceiling. And he goes, if I get through this, I'm going to come clean with Fox's crew. And he did. He survived. So we met him last year, went back to Brazil. And he ended up, I'm giving you guys a truncated version. He ended up taking us to the exact location of where the creature was in the ICU and said, I was here, I fucking saw it, it was alive, I had limited communication with it. I wasn't gonna tell you, I've kept it secret for 29 years, but I can't live with myself anymore. I was gonna die. My other buddy, Marcos Vinicius, died. I'm not gonna take this to the grave. My grandchildren have a right to know what happened. That's true, I saw it, I laid eyes on it. But because he had previously said that he just saw the video and wasn't willing to come forward, people were like, well, I'm going to question his testimony. I'm like, well, okay, so if he's lying, he's not asking for a dime. He's lying to his wife. He's lying to his coworkers. He's lying to his colleagues. He's lying to his kids. He doesn't have anything for sale. And he's willing to take a public lie detector test with his hand on a Bible tomorrow. Okay, so obviously we don't know for sure if he's telling the truth, but I don't see a motive for him not. Now, if what he's saying is true, and I'm convinced it is for a number of host of reasons, it's the most significant development in the history of the phenomenon, right? Because if true, right, you got a guy claiming face-to-face contact with a non-human sentient life form that was, as he put it, more advanced life form. He said it was an advanced intelligence. I kept saying, like, what do you mean? And this guy plays piano like Mozart, and he does brain surgery, right? He's an incredible human being. And he goes, it was like an angel. It had a higher level of intelligence. And despite the fact that it was in captivity in the hospital, it had control of the room.
How?
I don't know. He just said it had an awareness, like it could just look you in the eyes and it could read your thoughts.
All right, guys, let's take a break for a second. This past weekend, my boy Jamil texts me. He goes, I'm back on the weed. I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, I tried this brand that I'm about to tell you about right now, Willie's Social Tonics. And I go, what do you mean you're back with the weed? And he goes, I literally didn't feel like I needed to drink when I was out. Now, I know there's some people that are trying to not drink. Maybe you want to drink, maybe you want to do both. That's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But this Willie Nelson THC-infused social tonic had Jamil having an absolutely amazing time. And unlike other alcohol alternatives that don't really do anything, this actually gives you a fast-acting, euphoric little social buzz without waking up the next morning and you're feeling like absolute dog shit. You texted your ex, she's hitting you up for child support, all the things that happen when you're not on the Willie Social Tonics. Anyway, they come with 5 milligrams and 10 milligram doses with a best-in-class flavor, experience, so smooth, balanced, you barely realize you're drinking a THC product at all. You can sip it straight, pour it over ice, or mix it into your favorite mocktail. And the best part is, one shot of Willie's helps you relax, unwind, and de-stress, which is what we all really need to do. And we want to have the lowest cost of that. Now, it's not one of those mystery college edibles either. Every bottle is third-party lab tested, so you know exactly what you're getting every single time. Willie's ships directly to your doorstep in 40-plus states and has sold out 3 times in its first 6 months with over 300,000 happy customers. So, head over to drinkwillies.com. Hey, yo, and use the code FLAGRANT for 20% off your first order plus free shipping on orders over $95. Live like a legend. Also, do you know what a power move is? When somebody gets fired on a Friday and launches a company by Monday, that's a power move, okay? When your ex leaves you and 6 months later, you're doing better, looking better, and somehow happier, that's a power move, okay? When somebody tries to lowball you and you walk away from the deal instead of settling, that's a power move.
Power move.
And if you've been injured because of someone else's negligence, checking out Morgan & Morgan is a power move. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm with over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. They've recovered over $30 billion for more than 500,000 clients. Think about that. $30 billion.
Big B.
In one case in Florida, they secured a $644 million verdict after the defense argued the victim and his wife should get nothing. That's a power move. They've also recovered $15 million in a California mid-trial settlement and $10.6 million in a Nashville case. If you're injured by the negligence of another, you deserve to be paid, and you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/flagrant. That's forthepeople.com/flagrant, or dial #law. That's #529 from your cell phone. This is a paid advertisement. It's also a power move. Let's get back to the show. Who else was in the room with him?
So
There's nurses got to be there. Like,
So
There's a security
I can't,
guy
I
at the
can't get the
hospital.
name of this nurse. So I went. Do you know a guy named Amar from yesterday?
no.
Amar, do you know Amar?
I'm familiar with
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
sorry.
pretty. So Amar came. I don't know how many, 6, 8, 9 months ago. Came to Brazil with me, and we were all. I brought all the doctors together for the first time in history. We documented the whole thing, and Amar did as well. He's doing a little short something on it. And I brought Dr. Cesario. I brought the 2 forensic pathologists. I had a number of their wives, and we got together at one of the Dr. Armando's house. He was one of the guys that did the autopsy on the deceased military officer. And while I was there, and I was asking doctors, how long have you known Dr. Italo Venturelli, the neurosurgeon? 35 years, 40 years, 25 years. Is he telling the truth? Do you believe him when he's saying this? Because if it's what he's saying is true, this is the biggest development. This is huge. And this woman comes up to me, she was the nurse to one of the older doctors who did the tissue sample analysis, Dr. Giannini.
Tissue sample analysis on whom?
So one forensic pathologist, Dr. Armando, did the autopsy, and then he provided the tissue samples from that autopsy to another guy who founded the company, the lab, Dr. Giannini, and he's the one that studied the tissue samples, and he's old now.
Of the creature.
Of the guy who died from the scratch.
Oh, the guy that's got it.
So, and we have, So, Dr. Giannini is quite old now, and he brought with him, he has 3 nurses on 7-8 hour cycles, right? And the nurse that happened to be on with him that night, and Amar was there, and a number of other people were there. She came up to me and she was shaking like this. And I looked at her and I was like, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "Dr. Italo's telling the truth. Dr. Italo's telling the truth." Like this. And I was like looking at her like, "How do you know?" She goes, "Because I was there." And then she described what I do a lot of times when, and I'm not saying like, I'm just saying that everyone would have to be lying, right? For why? Why?
What did she describe?
Witnesses will get annoyed with me because I am a detail-oriented guy. Like when I want to know, like I don't want to know what happened every second. I want to know what happened every millisecond. I want to know where the fuck you were standing. What exactly did you see? Where were the curtains? Where was the bed? What happened? What happened when you looked it in the eyes? What happened when you looked in the eyes the second time? I want to know where you were standing. Where was this other doctor standing? What was going on in the hospital? Was it daylight? Did you see clouds in the sky? I want to know every fucking detail. Every detail, because I want to be in that room with him, right? So I had done that probably like maybe a week or 2 prior to that. And to the point where Dr. Italo was getting annoyed with me, but I was like, I want to know where was the curtain? Was the curtain open half then? Was it done this? Was it done that? Was the empty line up? Was the bed angled? Was it like, I wanted to know every fucking detail because I want to be there. And so I said, "What did you see?" To the nurse. And she had first time and she described exactly the scene. And I was like, okay.
So she
Either
described
they're
it
in
the same
cahoots
way
or
as-
she. Oh, no question. Yeah, she described. They did a makeshift.
Anybody else? Anybody else there?
Dr. Marcos Vinicius was there, but he died.
He's dead. Anybody
He's dead.
else? Any other nurse? Any
As of
security
right now,
guard? Or
so
anything?
we have leads on other doctors that had either seen the video and or the creature as well. We have their names, Dr. Osatilio or something, and we're going after them. But since all this has been happening, and I've got incredible detail about what I think the creature that Dr. Italo saw, because I got an interview with the military police, former chief of police, Pedro Aguiar. I got an interview with him like months before he died. I'll go into that in a second. But I'm slowly trying to piece together everything that's going on, and there's more and more developments all the time. And while this was happening, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jesse Michaels on American Alchemy. So Jesse and I have done some work together, and I've been on his show a couple times. And Jesse called me up, and he's like, dude, I'm getting an interview with the former Minister of Defense, Aldo Rebello. He's running for president, and he's basically saying that the incident happened, and if the Americans would declassify, the Brazilians could probably follow. So that development happened just a couple of months ago. So now we have the former Ministry of Defense, high level. You can look him up, and he's basically saying, yeah, this incident happened. If the Americans declassify, we will declassify. So while all this is going on, for the 30th anniversary, which was January of this year, I worked with Burleson's office, who's part of the UAP caucus, to get visas to fly in a bunch of the first-hand witnesses from Brazil to celebrate this momentous 30-year anniversary, because everyone's talking about crash retrieval, right? But where's the case? Okay, Roswell, great. That's 1947. Kingman, great. 1953, where are the witnesses? You know what I mean? Right. Kecksburg, still got some witnesses. I interviewed a few of them. It's very impressive case. Leslie King can tell you a lot more about that. But this case was 1996. And granted, yeah, it's 30 years ago, but most of the people are still alive. Most of them.
Why did the doctor lie about seeing the creature firsthand for all those years?
He, for a myriad of reasons. He's a brain surgeon. He's a very prominent influential person in the community. To come forward, especially at that time, saying you see aliens and you're going to work on people's brains.
You're gonna be a
that
quack,
in itself, a lot of
people.
the military was very forcefully threatening people. Doesn't whether they got to him directly or not, I don't know, but they were threatening a lot of people that we'd seen. In fact, they were still at it when I was there. Last couple of years, I had the military base ESA. You can look up ESA. They were calling witnesses that I'd either just had met with or that I was about to meet with, just saying really spooky shit. Just like, there's an American filmmaker there poking around. Did they get in touch with you? Oh, you still living at this address? How's the wife and kids?
Oh, wow.
Oh, good. Glad they're good. Yeah, anyway, let me know if you hear from this guy. We're just kind of curious what he wants, what he's doing. And then we were either about to get an interview with somebody, and they would and they'd get a fucking phone call. So they were still doing that shit. But because everything that's happening, and the former Ministry of Defense, Aldo Rebello, coming forward, and Burleson activating, so we started to learn of, and there's so many aspects of this case, you guys, we can go on for hours, but when I was over there filming for the first cut of Moment of Contact, by the way, by the time this comes out, you guys can watch it for free on YouTube Movies, which is great. And it's got 300 million people, so you can have access to a lot of homes for free. There was a guy named Marco Fedes. He's a flight control officer. And he came forward and was like, yeah, I was on duty that night. January 1996, I was on duty. And this USAF plane came in and they were trying to land. And I was like, you can't land? You don't have authorization from the Brazilian government? No. And he said, a high level, this is all, high level, a military official comes in and goes, let the plane land. Okay. So he lets the plane land. It lands in Campinas. Campinas, Unicamp, is exactly where the gentleman that we interviewed, Military X, I have his name and his military credentials, but in the movie, he's disguised. But he's like, yeah, I drove the alien to Campinas. I went to ESA military. I picked it up at Humanitas. I drove it here. I saw it. It was in my truck. I drove it to Ez military base for the night. Next morning, drove to Campinas. I didn't see it, but apparently the Americans came in on a plane and off they went. And then this guy comes forward and is like, yeah, I was on duty that night and I saw the plane, Marcos Ferris. So we have
The plane,
the USAF, United States Air Force plane came in, and without authorization from the Brazilian government, you have to have this specific, things to land. You can't just fly into a foreign country and land. And this plane came in and landed, and now we're finding out that, and I can't reveal my sources here, but we're finding out that there were 2 planes that came in and landed. And we don't know what base they left from in the United States, but they came into Campinas. They had one of them had at least 1 helicopter on it. They went into Varginha. They came back, they loaded a bunch of stuff on there, took off.
question.
Yes.
I'm sure you've interviewed plenty of people there.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah.
Did you interview anybody, multiple people there, that gave you compelling stories as to why this did not happen?
Because I went into it not believing it happened.
I don't ask this
Yeah, for sure. No, and I totally get absolutely.
And what did they say? And again, I'm not asking this to question your belief.
No,
or
for sure.
mine.
Yeah, for sure.
It's more about like framing the night. Did other people that didn't know each other have similar versions of the night that didn't include any of these events? Because if what we're doing is taking the people that didn't connect with each other or did connect with each other, but they're independently describing what happened, i.e. the doctor and the nurse, and they're saying the exact same thing happened, we start to go, okay, well, if they're not corroborating the story but describing the events in the same way, there is some validity or truth to this. But do you have other people who also described it and go, yeah, none of this happened, it was just like a random helicopter or a kite or some shit like that, and then
there are a couple.
Did anybody convince you? Did anybody make you wonder or question or confirm your disbelief?
No, I think
that you
the girls.
initially had?
I think when I met with the 3 girls back in 2012 or 2013, I was like, holy shit, those girls saw something. Like, they're really credible. Like, really credible. So I was like, okay, what did they see?
Yeah.
Right? And is there a connection? Like, I kept saying, we got to get to the guy, Carlos de Souza, who vanished, who allegedly saw the thing crash. Where's the connection there? And I slowly, because I wasn't sure, I was pretty convinced back then that the girls had seen, I really believed them. And then the mother talked about these people, foreigners came in and threatened the family and tried to get them to take this money bribe, and they'd have to go forward and go on various news stations and say our daughters were lying. They saw blah, blah, blah. They tried to change the story, and the mother refused. She's like, my daughters aren't liars. I'm going to do that. And I slowly, and then I was starting to have the connection between, okay, the entities, are they some weird lab experiment? Could they be something, I don't know, something underground lab? I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe the girls, but how's there a connection between that and the UFO crash? Do we have that? You know what I mean? And I slowly started to put pieces of the puzzle together. Like, I'll give you another example of something that to me that didn't make sense, right?
But did you talk to any people specifically that said this didn't happen?
There's military people that I approached and said, it's just...
What about civilians? Because military, we might be able to sit there and go, they're in on the silencing of this event.
Yeah.
Any just random citizens that were working in the area that were like...
First of all, no. The problem was that nobody came to... I can't think of one person that came to us. We had approached them and then try to develop and a lot of people had a different aspect of the encounter. Like, oh, I saw the military trucks, or I tried to go in where the girls were at the time and I got stopped at gunpoint. But some people were like, I gotta tell you, I'd say most people in the town, they're like, I think that shit happened.
So most people corroborate,
but they don't know exactly what happened, and I still don't know exactly what happened.
What I'm saying is most people corroborate the military involvement in whatever this event was. Nobody questions whether the military was there.
Yeah, people got threatened at gunpoint, now security.
And then there was some sort of crash.
Yes.
Nobody questions whether that happened.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, because I went
outside of military personnel, which might be instructed to, push a different version of the story. But regular civilians, nobody is questioning whether something crashed and military was involved.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, that
would be a normal thing if there's a crash. Military would come, right?
But where it changes is when you've got 3 women in broad daylight seeing the creature and having telepathic communication. That's like
all 3 of them said they have telepathic communication. Or was it just
Katya the most?
one?
But no, they all did. they all saw locked eyes because when it turned, it looked at all of them. And some of them was immediate, like, help, I'm suffering, I need help, I'm suffering. And then Katya is the one that locked eyes with the longest, and she's like, to this day, I feel really bad because that poor creature was so helpless and vulnerable, and it was asking for help. You know, and I laughed, I jokingly go, if it's true, could you imagine that the story changes just a little bit where the girls like decide to like give this thing shelter and like, you know, as the military's hunting it down, you know? Like,
becomes ET.
Yeah, but let me give you another example. The thing that just didn't line up for me, and I was just like,
why was there smoke coming out of the craft?
Yeah,
That's what I don't understand, because if it's not a typical engine that works on fuel,
this had a gash in it. This had it had a gas. This thing was damaged. It had a gash, and it was struggling to stay in the air. We had a lot of people, 5, 6, 7 witnesses that saw this cylindrical shaped craft at different locations.
Yeah.
We actually did a aerial shot with my drone, which is great. Where I'd go up really high in the sky, and I look down, and I was like, all right, this witness over here, I saw it here, we did it here, and we mapped it all out, and to our amazement, everything was lining up like, holy shit, this is where it crashed, this is where this person saw it, this is where that person saw it, you know? And then with the girls, like, and this is, there's so many aspects of the story, so many. I flew my drone over that area as well, and I looked at the capture, I was like, shit, that's just a couple blocks away, like, and then we interviewed this family of doctors that were just a couple blocks away from where the girls allegedly had the encounter with this creature that night. And they're in, you can watch their testimony. They're like, there was a disc. It was looking for something. Watched it for 30 minutes. It was flying slow and low over the area. I'm going, how do you know it was looking for something? I was asking the whole family. And they were like, it was moving. They were like flying this way, coming this way. And it's flying right over where the girls saw the creature and where the thing was captured. I don't know about you, but it ain't rocket science. If their account is true, they were trying to do a fucking rescue operation to get their people. Like, there's a connection to craft right there. You know, you look at like, they've got a big monument in downtown Varginha, and it's a disc. And I was like, shit, the thing that crashed was a cigar. Why would you have a disc? Well, the discs were seen because they were looking. There were little discs looking. In fact, I got a video from 1996 that I was
There were little discs that were looking
little
for the
flying
crash
saucers,
drill.
little discs. What the witnesses described.
After the
those
fact.
all sounds fucking nuts. Believe me, I know that. I really do. You know, I remember.
First of all, just to clarify,
Yeah.
something sounding nuts to me isn't like shocking given the subject matter.
Yeah.
So I'm never thrown off by something sounding nuts because I have to, in order to indulge this, I have to believe in the nuts. I have to believe in the unbelievable in order to, so to me, that's not it. When I'm asking questions, it's simply like, how do I put this world together in a way that is believable?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going into this going, no, there's no way this happened. But if I do hear a piece of information, like if they're like, the craft was smoking, I go, well, why would something that doesn't work on fuel create smoke, right? If it doesn't have a typical engine and there's some sort of like propulsion system based on gravity, even if it had a gash in it, there'd be no smoke coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like, so there's certain things where like the physics makes me ask questions.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they could go.
Yeah, let me tell you some other inconsistencies that puzzled me, and I think I have a solution. I think.
It's also very nice to know that you're also looking at these things going, this doesn't make sense to me. Because I think sometimes every year with the Knicks, I become pot committed that we're going to win for 53 years, right?
God,
and I start telling myself a story that's going to work. And no matter who's on the team, we have a 37-year-old guy named fucking Prigioni who's from Italy. And I'm like, but he's the truth. He's the best point guard. And this is going to get us through the playoffs. And never had. So I can understand when you dedicate your life to believing in something, it's very easy to not be skeptical of it. So I like that you're going, I was pushing back against a lot of this stuff. This didn't make sense, and you're still needing to be convinced.
Yeah, and I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, I'll give you an example. So the neurosurgeon, I mean, if he wanted to just lie, he would have just said, because everybody in the whole fucking town knows about the girls.
Yeah.
They were all over the news. The girls saw it, the creature was brown, and it was oily, it stink.
And this is the 90s, like we didn't believe women.
Especially in Brazil, right? So, they're like a decade behind or more. Yeah. But he's describing this thing, and he was like,
as he smiles glowingly.
He's described the entity, and he's like, it didn't smell, and it was more of a white. with lilac colored eyes. It was angelic. I was like, and then he said it looked out the window longingly. And I was like, all right, well, what did it see out the window?
The window of what?
The hospital building, I'm sorry. The hospital building. Blue sky. Blue sky. I was like, the guys captured the creature that was alive, Marcus Rizzi, and it was like pretty much dark and raining. So that doesn't make sense. I was like, and why is it white and not brown?
Yeah.
Does this thing have an ability, like a chameleon, to like in the hot sun when it's suffering, it turns brown and it's got this excretion of oil and stinky like a skunk? I don't know.
Possible.
I don't know. But I'd interviewed the former chief of police, and he was like, I jokingly say he was like trying to grab a bar of soap in the bathtub because for years we were trying to get this guy, and he seemed like he wanted to meet us, but he was just like, yeah, meet me here, and then he'd pull out, and I was just like super frustrating. So about a year and a half ago, give or take, we doorstepped him. And lo and behold, and it was funny actually because we were going to his house. Somehow somebody was like, I need to go to the bathroom, part of our crew. And we stopped at this one pizzeria place and we were like, you feel kind of obliged when you use the bathroom at a restaurant.
Buy a little something.
To buy a little something, you know what I mean?
100%.
So he's like, you know what? The guy goes, we can whip a pizza together. I make, you know what? I'm the owner tonight. I'm on duty. Normally I'm not here, but I'm going to whip up a nice pizza for you guys. And I was like, I don't have much time. He goes, I'll do it quickly. I'll do it, So he whips up this great pizza and we ended up having some wine and some pizza and had a great time. But we were like, we're late now. So we ended up going to the chief of police house. We knock on the door. He's like, I just got home. You're really lucky. I just, I was thinking to myself, had we not had that pizza, we wouldn't have. So I went inside. Start talking, and it's been nice to see you again because we'd seen each other once or twice over Zoom. We hadn't met physically. And then we start talking, and the wife's kind of looking at us like, and then we bring another part of our crew inside, a little translation. And I was like, hey, my buddy's outside. He's got a camera. Would you mind if you take a couple pictures? Oh, sure. Okay, sure. Come on in. And next thing you know, we're doing a full interview with the former chief of police. So we're doing the interview. He's getting more relaxed. And his wife, I'll never forget this. I got video footage of it. She had these eyeballs almost like protruded out. And she's looking at him from across the room. And I'm looking at my buddy Dave. I'm like, dude, you film his wife? She's looking at him and she's not blinking. Just like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, she's just looking at him. And he starts talking. He's got some kind of disability. It looks like he's got maybe arthritis or some kind of something going on. But he was like former chief of police, and he's talking, and I said, well, can we talk a little bit about this story? And he's like, it wasn't a story, it was history, it's part of history. I participated, I know about this happened. He got really like, whoa, I got this all on camera. So I'm pressing him on potential photographs, I'm pressing him on what he saw, like what happened. And he goes really far, and he's like, it happened, it was part of history. He goes, I saw more brass as a military base than I've ever seen. They said it was an issue of national security. Don't, talk about it, blah, blah, blah. He goes, but I saw it, and he didn't quite give me the description of exactly how he saw the creature, but that he'd seen it, he was a witness. Well, we extracted as much as we could out of him at that interview. And it was great, We tried to get the photograph. We were, any lead we could possibly follow up on. I put him in the movie, and then he dies a couple months later. So I contact the family on my last trip, which was just a few months ago, because I wasn't even like really filming. I mean, my film's already, I just want to know myself. So I contact the family and I go see his widow. And she's like, he told me he saw the creature and that happened. He told me that. I said, could I get an on-camera statement from you? And she gave it to me. And then I talked to his son, and his younger son was turned 13 or 14. We took him out to a really nice lunch. And he's like, yeah, my dad said that it happened. My dad said it happened, but he was too afraid to talk about more details because he just thought we were safer not knowing. But he said it happened. He saw it happen. I was like, okay, well, I'd love to get some more info. So he turns out he's got 2 kids from a previous marriage. So I tracked them down. And I go, and they're like closer to my age, 40s, 50s. And they were like, yeah, our dad said it happened, and he participated, and he described. But then his lawyer, we have lunch with his lawyer, and Pedro had just died, and his lawyer's I'll tell you exactly what fucking happened. I was like, great. And we filmed the whole thing, and he goes, he was on duty, and he got a call. Something crazy was happening. They were capturing some kind of thing. They needed help. He was summoned to this location. It was in the morning. I don't know exactly what time, but it was in the morning. And he arrives at the location, and there's 2 young military policemen armed. And they're probably like 20. And he's 40-something, and he's the chief of police. And they draw their weapons on him. National security, back up, back up. And he's like, I'm the chief of police. He's got his badge. I'm chief of police. And they're like, I don't give a shit who you are. This is national security. I will arrest you. And he takes out his gun. So now they're having this standoff. And during this standoff, 2 firemen are capturing with a net one of these creatures, and he witnesses it, the capture of this creature. He was then taken to the base, and that's when, so all the little pieces that he had told us, he had given us, I'd seen it, I was at the base, I saw the military brass, I participated, to use all that language, right? So I'm going, that one was alive, it was morning. The neurosurgeon, Dr. Italo Venturelli, said it was light daylight outside because there was sun and clouds. Maybe that's the one that Dr. Italo saw. Maybe because it wasn't in a threatening environment or suffering in the hot heat, it was in an air-conditioned room, it didn't feel threatened. Maybe it's like a chameleon. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe it was a slightly different race or species. Maybe, right? But the one that the military officer captured was definitely at night. And he described looking out the window was daytime. And so now it's another piece of the puzzle. I'm starting to think, okay, maybe that's an explanation for the discrepancy. I don't know, it's speculation, right? But it's informed speculation. So yeah. And there's just constantly new. And then like I said, I come home and then the former Ministry of Defense is like, yeah, it happened. And if the Americans want to declassify, and so now, and here's my thing, like you don't have to believe the case to get behind the call to action to like, let's uncover what the Americans know about this. Because apparently, according to a lot of Brazilian people, Americans were involved. And if it's true, and if it happened, I'd like to know what could be more significant than that case, if it happened, right? Because it could settle the debate once and for all. And if the creature was alive, as a lot of people say it was when it was captured, how long did it stay alive? How much information did they ultimately get out of this thing? How long did he keep it alive? Was there additional exchange of it? What was it doing? How did it crash? Where did it come from? What was it doing here? Like, those are all things I'm dying to know. Like, I just want to know so bad, you know? But it's like, you know, you put all these little pieces of the puzzle together and there's obviously still missing pieces. And like, what happened on the American side? How many planes flew in? So now, and I could talk about this openly because it just came out a couple of days ago, but Dave Grush, who's a big whistleblower, he testified under oath, bipartisan group of lawmakers in 2023 came forward. And he's working with Burleson's office. Congressman Burleson has been launched an investigation into Varginha. He has very detailed notes on to the FBI and very detailed notes to the CIA, and they are trying to get, because our team sent a FOIA from 2022, I think it was, 2022, to get the flight records. We have location, we have the date and a location, flight records. There's got to be some flight records, right?
FOIA, for anybody listening, is the Freedom of Information Act.
Yes.
So you can petition the government of the United States of America to disclose whatever information that they deem not classified,
yes.
Right?
And ultimately, they sent me a response 3 or 4 years later. It's in the film. And they were like, we can neither confirm nor deny, based on the 1949 National Security Act of blah, blah, blah. And so Congressman Burleson's office took that FOIA, and he's hitting up. He's like, you can deny a civilian, but you guys can't deny me. And so I want you guys to share that with the public. So there's 2 letters. And I said to Mr. Grush, I said, I wouldn't have you guys out there chasing rainbows. And he goes, my time is extremely valuable to me. And he looks at me and he's like, I wouldn't waste my time on this case if I didn't know there's something to it. Mm-hmm. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, And so Burleson's working with him. And so now they've launched an investigation as of a couple of days ago. And, we'll see what happens.
I'm curious. We have whistleblowers. We have people who have come forward. I think Trump recently is like, hey, let's release everything we have. How come all we've seen is just like the Tic Tac and these little like blurry images and stuff? Like why everybody has a 4K phone in their pocket?
Yeah,
why
for
don't
sure.
we have any like more like credible evidence?
Yeah, so they've been using the excuse of ways and methods, I think it's called So basically, like, let's say they have a sensor over Iraq or something, some sensory data, right? I don't know, infrared or optical 4K, blah, 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 satellite imagery, whatever. They don't want Iraq to know. So their excuse has been like, oh, because I have pilots and I have intel folks that I'm talking to that have seen the 4K stuff that we all want out. And they're like making the excuse, well, you'd have to reveal, well, scrub that data. Like, come on. So shows a plot of land, I'm going to scrub the rest of the data, release it. This is happening right now. So I'm in touch with a lot of people that are part of the task force and people that are working behind the scenes, and I can show you the text afterwards, but that are saying, sit tight, we're getting the low-hanging fruit first, more stuff to come. There are people on the inside that have come through me and like, I've seen it, I know where this data is, it's on this server, it's on here, you do the search here, and I'm passing that information to members of Congress because they, at times, there's complications going directly to the sources, to members of Congress. However, they can do it through someone like me, so I can take that information and I can pass it along, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you might want to look here, or over here, over there, you know? So I'm told that sit tight, there's more and more stuff coming. And also, like, you know, I say this to people because regardless of what you consider, you know, what your political views are, President Trump actually has the power to take executive action. Forget about, you know, disclosure-related legislation in the House and Senate, which is some is passed and some is not. And that's kind of, you know, gotten bogged down. We're launching an initiative, and I can talk a little bit about it because by the time this comes out, we'll probably have gone public with it. But we're approaching a number of whistleblowers. And whistleblowers are going to make a direct plea to the executive branch, and they're going to say, Mr. President, I know X, Y, and Z. I've seen it. I've seen the evidence. The American public has a right to know. We understand different, you know, national security issues related around the technology. However, the biologics, the entities, that should be something that everyone should have access to and know about and acknowledged. And you don't have to believe them, but he's going to say, Mr. President, if you take executive action with the stroke of a pen, I will disclose everything I know tomorrow to the American public within reason.
Because they're looking for immunity.
They're looking for immunity, and President Trump can provide that. So this initiative is getting launched, and it's going to be a number of whistleblowers, and they're going to make it directly to President Trump. And it'll be our responsibility as influencers, your guys way more influential than I am, but our responsibility to say, hey, let's call her bluff. Come on, Mr. President. We all want to know. There's been 1.5 billion hits on the site since it was launched, and the government site. People are starving to know. People want to know. People are tired of hearing, I can't tell you, it's classified. It's classified. Nope, can't tell you, I go to jail, it's classified. Well, let's look for a remedy of that. Let's create a platform that allows these people, and let's call their bluff. Because who the hell, if it's true, if just one of them's telling the truth, the implications are global. Mm-hmm. Like, are you kidding me?
To Alex's point, though, he's like, you're talking about a lot of like defense whistleblowers. You're talking about people within the government, within the military.
Subcontractors, yeah.
And so he's asking, I think, more like, why isn't there just a dude in New York City just filming something, being like, oh, well,
God, Google
something.
it. There's so much, you don't even know what's AI, what's not. I mean, there's so much stuff circulating online that'll make your head spin. That's the problem, right? Because you don't know.
Even before AI. Like, I think if somebody had a picture of an alien, like,
picture of an alien. Well, there's a couple that you guys should Google. One of them, and it's because if you don't know provenance, it's tricky, right? But there are a couple that have been allegedly leaked, and I have to look them up. There's two, and some of them I'm scratching my head, and they were leaked in the 90s, and I'm like, Jesus, that's pretty impressive. God, I can't remember the name of the damn thing, but there's a whole, people have done reports on it. I've kind of steered clear because it was a little bit of a slippery slope, but things have leaked. Impressive footage has leaked. The question is like provenance, right? Like if you don't have a source, you don't have somebody, like for instance, some stuff is leaked over Varginha. I'm looking at it, looks like AI, but what we need is like the doctor or maybe the military to come forward. It's like, yes, we shot this in 1996.
Even
I was there.
You say leaked. I'm talking about, like, if
online.
I saw something right now, I'm immediately taking a picture. I'm going straight to Twitter, straight to Instagram. Like, how come that hasn't happened?
Well, of an alien?
Yeah, or UAP or anything.
Well, I mean, if you watch my film, The Program, you'll see lots of those cases. Yeah. Very impressive. Very impressive. Like one, there was a passenger on an airplane, and the object, I think it was one of the pilots or co-pilots, and the object just goes right past the thing in broad daylight. It's really impressive. I mean, there was photographs in 1990, Calvine, Scotland. Look up Calvine, Scotland, 1990. That was taken by 2 civilians. That's considered to be one of the most impressive pictures ever taken of a UFO. I did an extensive deep dive into that. And those were 2 chefs.
Is that this one?
No,
that was recently released by the government.
This is one that came out of the 4th batch of UFO files released by Trump. And this is from like 2020 from infrared.
Oh. Yeah, I don't have a clue what the hell that looks like. A balloon or something to me with lights on it, but I haven't got a clue. But in any case, so that one, I'll give you an example. 1990, Calvine, Scotland. 2 guys that worked at a hotel just outside, I don't remember the name of the hotel. They go off hiking, and it's daylight. And they come upon a sort of disc or diamond-shaped object, quite large, hovering not too far off the ground, and they are flipping terrified. They're like looking at this thing like, what the hell? Why is it not making any sound? What the hell is this thing? Yeah, there it is. Boom. Calvine, Scotland. So they're looking at it. It's hovering. There's all those points of reference. And they're terrified. They were literally hiding under a tree. I interviewed the RAF press officer, Craig Lindsay, who investigated for the Ministry of Defense, and another person who investigated, who just unfortunately passed, Nick Pope. And I interviewed the guy who found the photograph, David Clark.
And they verified the photograph?
Oh, yeah. So I'd heard about it. In the late 90s. Because the guy who investigated UFOs in an official capacity for the Ministry of Defense, Nick Pope, had told me about it. And I was like, where's the fucking photograph? He's like, yeah, they squashed it. You know, he goes, we actually had a print on the wall of the MOD for years. I pestered Nick Pope for so damn long about it. Turns out what happened was the 2 guys, they were like, what the fuck was this thing? And then they were terrified, hiding under a tree. It was hovering there. They didn't know what the hell they were looking at. They were terrified. And then a jet came in. It's a Harrier jump jet, came in the screen, and it flew all the way around that craft. And they got their camera out. One of them got courage enough, and he snapped like 5 or 6 shots. And it was the disc itself, or the diamond-shaped craft, was stationary with trees and stuff. And the plane is at different points on the 6 different prints. They go to the local news organization within a day or 2, had some of the film footage developed, told their story, had the footage developed, and the Scotland Daily Record was like, holy shit, this is incredible. Like, usually when you get people describing a UFO, it's like some blurry object way off in the distance. They're like, holy shit. So they call the MOD, and they want to get comment. Hey, the RAF press officer, Craig Lindsay, and they said, hey, we want to get comment on what those guys saw at blah, 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 and a good photograph. He's like, well, I don't know. I don't know what they saw. There we go. Well, we'll send you a print. So the Scotland Daily Record took a print about that big, FedExed it or whatever, to the guy at the RAF press officer, and he gets the damn thing, and he goes, holy shit. And he contacts the MOD, and he's just like, you know, and the MOD's like, yeah, go check it out. So he goes and he interviews the 2 witnesses. And meanwhile, they're going to go to print, and this whole story is going to go out. And the 2 witnesses vanished forever, and the prints are gone. And the RAF press officer, Craig Lindsay, who I interviewed, thanks to David Clark, and
the 2 witnesses vanished forever?
Yeah, they came forward and their photos disappeared, and they disappeared. And I was like, well, where did they go?
Do they have a funeral?
Nope, nothing. Gone. Off the face of the earth.
But like, where's their family?
Yeah, this, and by the time, because the story was killed.
Right, but like, they have family members.
Well, but it was almost 30 years later that I came in, and Dave Clark came in, and so what happened was, this guy David Clark was going over some redacted, declassified notes or whatever, memos. And he comes upon everyone had heard about this case, but nobody had a photograph. Nobody had the witnesses. The fucking case was just killed, right? Because 2 witnesses, 6 prints, broad daylight, military jet. That is the fucking last picture you want out, right? When you're sitting there telling the world, oh, there's nothing to it, then there's that with 2 witnesses and 6 prints. So our press officer said that he got a call from the higher ups of the MOD, and they were like, yeah, we'll take it from here. Thanks. Click. Your termination. No, don't investigate. Well, he was like, okay. And so he interviewed the 2 people. He kept that print for forever. Like, kept it in a little book, kept the print that they sent him. So
But what
David
happened to
Clark,
those 2
this
people?
researcher, tell you. So David Clark, the researcher, sees these redacted documents, and it said, RAF press officer, blacked out, whatever year it was, 1990. And he's like, who's the RAF press officer in this region? Craig Lindsay. Okay, find Craig Lindsay. He finds Craig Lindsay. They start talking. I don't know, it was 1 year or 2 years, however long, get to know each other a little bit. He's like, yeah, I think I still have that copy. Really? So long story short, he gets Craig Lindsay. I actually flew over there and I interviewed the people that were investigating the case. And during that investigation, we were looking for whoever was working at this apparent hotel back in 1990. The 2 witnesses, they were chefs. We didn't really have their names. We had maybe a name. So we're doing this whole thing. And then a gentleman who we found, David Clark found, was working at the hotel when it happened. His name was Richard, and I never pronounced his name correctly. Greaves. He's going to be upset with me. Greaves. And he said, I knew the blokes. Here's their names. We were all, a couple days after they were going to go public with their story, we're having a cigarette break at the hotel, and this fucking car pulls up, and 2 men in dark suits get out.
No way.
Swear to fucking God. You listen to it, I did a film, you can watch it for free on YouTube Movies called The Program. And you fucking listen to this guy, Greaves, talking about this. He said, these guys came out, he's like, cigarette breaks over, gentlemen. And they fucking, now we need to talk to your mates. And they go in there, and he said they could see him out there in the pissing rain, and these men in suits. And he said there was a driver behind the car who never got out, and 2 guys in the back did. And they were just hammering these 2 witnesses in the rain, because it's in the pissing fucking rain. I got the whole scene again in The Program. You can watch it for free again, YouTube Movies. And he said they came back in, soaking wet, and he said, they were white as a fucking ghost. I'll never forget that. White as a fucking ghost. They started drinking heavily on the job, sleeping in their cars, didn't go home at night, sleeping in their cars in the parking lot, and then they fucking vanished forever, and they were gone. They've been gone ever since. Yeah.
What department of the government or shadow government or deep state is responsible for keeping all this stuff under
I think
wraps?
it's the CIA, but I don't know. Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
I want to.
Yep, there it is. There's the guy that investigated the case back in 1990. That's Craig Lindsay right there.
They were men in black. They came in the back door. They looked white as a fucking ghost. Something happened to them. Where are they?
Where are they?
You can continue watching. There's the MOD guy talks about it. I don't know.
So nobody.
I went on BBC Radio. I went on every podcast in England, Scotland. I went on a podcast with a guy, James English, and he would have to adjust his accent so I could understand what he was saying. Because when he's talking to his mates, he's like, you can't even hear, I don't know what the fuck he's saying. I can't even mimic the whole thing, but so just so you know, like I heard about that case because I've known Nick Pope. I've been interviewing him since the late 90s. I heard about that case forever. And I'm a bulldog. When I hear about something, some evidence, I'm fucking going after it. I waited 26 years to report on that. Yeah, 26 fucking years.
And what made you report on it?
Well, because David Clark found the fucking photograph through the former
so you had heard
RAF
about
press
this.
officer. I don't have a story without a fucking photograph.
But you had heard about this prior to the photograph.
Yes, the
Then you
MOD
came
guy
across
goes,
the
this is the
photograph.
best, because I said to him, shit, you were at the MOD for all those years. What was the best case? Not a moment's hesitation. He goes, 1990 in Scotland. He didn't tell me it was Calvine, but he goes, Scotland. And he goes, 2 guys 5 pictures.
And they
Holy
verified
fuck.
the photo.
Oh,
It's not photoshopped.
Oh, yeah,
or-
no, you can interview. Oh, it's all in the movie. The analysis work that went down to that photograph, are you kidding me, was just like they dissected that thing every which way.
I've heard people on Reddit try to dismiss it, and it'll be like, "Oh, it's a rock in a lake."
mountain
and
top.
That's apt. I went to the exact location, tracked it down. I mean, I interviewed the RAF press officer. I interviewed the guy at the MOD. Like, I actually even interviewed military intelligence in America about crafts like that. And there was a sighting with one of them that happened right around the same time in Europe in 1990. That craft was seen. But, so there's like,
Oh, I get it. It's a rock in a lake, and the plane is actually a reflection of the plane in the lake.
That's what people will say.
Yeah.
They're looking down.
I mean,
this is like the top
that's
of the fence.
absolute,
That's a rock.
complete
That's a
and
reflection.
utter hogwash. I can share with you the exact location that I was standing there. There's a mountain range way down below. That's sky that you're looking at. That's 1,000% sky.
But they're above the fence. You understand why people could believe that it's a rock and a reflection.
I mean, I have a hard time looking at a rock and to me,
Like the angle of the camera is down, not up.
Right. That's what I saw the thread on Reddit. And that's what some guy was trying
No,
to
if you
explain
look
to us.
at that spot, I actually shot almost the identical picture 30 plus years later.
All right, guys, let's take a break for a second. We're all trying to feel healthy, right? Drinking more water, getting steps in, taking our vitamins. But here's what most people miss: your liver health. Nobody's ever concerned about their liver, right? You never go, oh, I'm going to get in that ice bath because it's going to help my liver. Oh, I'm going to go in the sauna because it's going to help my liver. Oh, I'm going to do this because it's going to help my liver. No one even thinks about your liver. Your liver affects everything. Your energy, digestion, skin, even your metabolism. It's time we show it some love, and that's where Dose comes in. It's a clinically backed liver supplement, but not a pill. It's a 2-ounce daily shot that tastes like fresh orange juice. The irony that taking shots could improve your liver is not lost on us. 0 sugar, 0 junk, 0 calories. Your liver handles 500 plus functions a day. It's your body's filter. And when it's overworked, you feel sluggish, tired, off. Dose helps cleanse your liver, supports daily function, and can reduce midday crashes, boost metabolism, and improve digestion. Plus, it's backed by 2 double-blind placebo-controlled studies showing real results. Ready to give your liver the support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.co/flagrant or enter flagrant to get 35% off your first subscription. Your body does so much for you. Let's do the same thing for it. That's dosedaily.co/flagrant for 35% off your first month subscription. Also, what's one money lesson you wish you learned earlier, and how are you trying to pass that down to your kids? For all the parents out there with teenagers, we know you're already trying to keep a million different things under control. Cash App is here to help make sure your teens' money isn't adding to that craziness. Parental oversight and no hidden fees. This is huge. With the Cash App card available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see, empowering your teen to practice independence while giving you the peace of mind that they're not just buying OnlyFans accounts all willy-nilly, okay? Starts at Roblox, and it goes to something that rhymes with that I won't say in this ad. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two, making it simple to stay connected to your teen's financial activity in a way that's both efficient and empowering. Finally, no one wants unnecessary surprises with Cash App. There's no monthly fees, no minimum balance requirements, no hidden charges. When sending or receiving money with the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if the card ever gets lost, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone. Can you do this to your wife? Parents, it's time to start focusing on your teens, financial learning and growth instead of stressing about the fine print. If you're ready to give your teen more independence while staying in the loop, start by downloading the Cash App and sponsoring their account today. Cash App, you're genius. New Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. But hold on one second. I know what so many of you at home are thinking. You're thinking, is there a trading market for when the U.S. will acknowledge that aliens do exist? And to that, I would say, no way. There's no chance. There's no chance that there's a trading market for such a thing. Miles, is there a chance?
Yeah, there is.
Oh, there is a chance.
Before 2027, before 2028, or before 2029.
So, guys, I cannot give financial advice on any of these types of things, but I would put the house on the fact that we are not going to know anytime soon. The government is definitely not going to confirm it. I mean, aliens could be walking around and they're not going to say a single thing. But so, I mean, look, 25% of people think they do. So there's a trade right there where they're willing to just hand over their money. Anyway, can we get back to this actually important conversation? Thank you.
What about Phoenix Lights? Do you think
That's a great case.
compelling footage, you think?
What's amazing about this case is that there were so many people out under the night sky to get a glimpse of the Hellbomb comet, right? That it was witnessed by all these people across the state of Arizona. But the object, and there were several objects, it was like an armada, but it was like a boomerang-shaped craft. And a lot of people had seen it. I was investigating the case in the 90s, right when it happened, right after it happened. And the governor, Fife Symington, the then governor, Fife Symington, I'm friends with today, he was like, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to launch an investigation. We're check the Pentagon, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden he holds an unscheduled, unannounced press conference. And he has his chief of staff dressed up in an alien suit and rolls him out and makes a joke out of the whole damn thing. And I was pissed at the time. And a lot of the people that I interviewed, the witnesses, were like, we fucking put you in office and you're going to ridicule. Like, all we're asking is for an investigation. What do we saw? Like, I mean, I interviewed families, and it's in my movie, I Know What I Saw, that literally said, we got down on our front lawn. We just fucking lied down and it passed over the top of us so slow. It looked like a floating city. You could see compartments and metal bit up in the craft. They go, we thought it was going to land at Sky Harbor. Like, it was just super low. And it said, it took 5 minutes to pass overhead. That's how big it was. And the governor poo-poos the whole thing. So I ended up interviewing the governor. Okay, here's another story where you go find somebody and their story, like they suddenly comes out all out. The governor was like, you know what? I feel really bad. It's about 10 years after. He goes, it was not my intention to ridicule my constituents and the people. I was just trying to add some levity. It was, mounting pressure and tension and nobody knew what it was. And I just wanted to add some levity, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, hey, I got an interview with one of your former constituents and a witness to the event, Stacey Rhodes. And I recorded a statement from her. And I played it to the governor 10 years later. And I said, and he was a little uncomfortable because you could tell he was being ambushed a little bit. And I played it, and it was Stacey Rhodes. She was a witness. She voted for him, constituent. And she goes, you still believe the same shit? You went out there and you lied to all of us, and we were witnesses. We were just asking for an investigation, and you ridicule us, and really angry. And I could tell he was like pretty damn moved by it. I was all on camera when I rolled this thing. And he goes, no, I did take it seriously, and we did investigate, and I saw it too. And I knew immediately that it was not of this earth. And he was he was in the Air Force. He's also a pilot. And he just spilled the beans right there on the spot. I couldn't believe it.
This is the governor.
The governor, yes. He goes, I saw it too. It's not of this earth. I said, how do you know it wasn't of this earth? He goes, the size. And it was floating slowly. And he goes, and this is the first time in my life when this was happening. I swear to you, you ever get that impression when someone says, I had to pinch myself? Because I was like, did he just fucking say he saw it too? Holy shit, did I just break the story with the governor? So I reached down, I kid you not, I'm not exaggerating, I swear on my life, and I pinched my leg. Because I was like, this can't be happening. I didn't just get the governor to confess having seen this as well. Like, this is one of the best mass sightings in U.S. history, and the governor's now saying that he saw it too? Like, holy shit. So I'm pinching myself. And I was like, no, I'm not dreaming. Then I was like, the fucking camera's not rolling. So I remember looking over to see if the camera was rolling, because I was like, it's my luck, the fucking camera's not rolling. And I kind of leaned forward and I looked and it was rolling. And that story broke. Leslie helped break that story with me, and we got
You have that on
invited.
video somewhere?
Yeah.
Which one is
I Know
that?
What I Saw.
Yeah.
Can we get up that clip?
Yeah.
Well, I called my general at the National Guard. Nobody had an explanation. People just sort of said, well, we just don't know what it is.
Phoenix Councilwoman Frances Barwood. This is an interesting side story. Let me just say this really quickly. So, you know, when you see me report on these so-called men in black folks, I didn't just start doing that. It took me about 20 years, roughly 20 years before I was like, okay, these guys, I've heard enough. These guys exist. So,
Creatures or Men in Black?
Men in Black. These dudes in suits show up and intimidate witnesses.
X-Files.
All that shit. Yeah, X-Files shit. Exactly. So I heard about it for so long, and I was like, come on. Really? Like, really? Come on. So I interviewed Frances Barwood, who was the councilwoman at the time, and she was like, yeah, I got a phone call with her right there. She's like, yeah, I got a phone call from this guy, and I didn't include it in the movie because I was like, this is fucking nuts. She goes, I got a phone call from this guy, and he was like, I'm a Vietnam vet. I was on the roof. I had my tripod, my camera, I had my little CB radio, and I was going to get a shot of the Hail Bob comet over my house. And then I heard chitter chatter on the radio, on my CB radio, from Interstate 10 between Tucson and Phoenix, these truckers talking about this fucking huge boomerang shaped craft. He's like, shit, that's heading right towards my house. He goes, I was on the fucking roof with the tripod and the camera, so I got footage of it floating right over the house. Would you like to see it? She's like, yeah, damn right I would. He goes, okay. And they made arrangements. He was going to drop it off at her office. Later that day, or first thing the next day, 2 men in suits show up at his house. And you could call her tomorrow, she'll tell you this story. Show up at his house, and he was like, oh, these guys are intimidating. At that point, it was in July, and it's really hot. He was like, dark suits, these guys show up at fucking 120 degrees, like, the fuck? And they're like, yeah, we're from Frances Barwood's office. We're here to pick up the footage. And he's like, oh, okay. He goes, quite honestly, I was somewhat relieved. And the only question they asked, did you make copies? He said, no. Took the footage. He doesn't hear from Frances Barwood. So he calls her like a week later and he goes, well, what'd you think? She goes, what do you mean, what did I think? You're going to drop the footage off. I didn't have to. You had 2 men from your office show up. I didn't send two people over. So I heard that. I didn't report on it at the time because I was like, you're fucking kidding me. It's like this. But when I hear this time and I could tell you stories dating back to the 1950s. I could tell you stories from 1947 of these men in suits showing up.
Where are the whistleblowers from the men in suits?
Where were they?
No, where are they? Like, has there ever been a men in suit that whistle blew?
Oh, you mean, well, funny you should say that. There was a guy named something Barber, and he was like, you think I'm scared of the boogeyman? He goes, I was the boogeyman. He was apparently part of the program. I don't know, but people that were armed and dangerous and would go out, the foot soldiers, and intimidate the witnesses. I'm told it's CIA, but I don't know. But yes, we've had a couple people it's rumored that Lou Elizondo might have been one of those people. We don't know that for
Who's
sure.
that?
Lou Elizondo is, you can look him up. He was part of the OSAP ATIP, Pentagon UFO program. And I like Lou a lot, and I'm not trying to say that he was, but there are rumors circulating that he might have been. He's kind of a whistleblower. He came forward in 2017. He said he stepped down in protest of excessive secrecy.
Okay.
But in any case, so
yeah.
you hear that case in Phoenix and you think, interesting. But then you hear it, these men in suits showing up, intimidating the witnesses from Calvine, and then you hear them showing up, intimidating the witness from Varginha, and then you hear them show up, intimidating witnesses from, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And you sit there and go, I see a pattern here.
100%.
And that's when you go, all right, I don't have to believe any one particular person saying this, but
why are they all being silenced?
why are they all
the same?
And who the fuck has got this uncanny ability to be omnipresent in every damn good case? Who the fuck are these guys?
Have you ever had any encounters yourself?
I've had. It's funny actually. Unfortunately, my older sister just died, and she's
I'm sorry.
I know it's fucking shitty. She got MS. She got MS in her late 30s, early 40s.
Oh my God.
She anyway. It's another story. But we were making recorded statements for her kids who are now in their early 20s, Felix and Emily, and we were just reminiscing about old times, and we were recording statements for the kids, and then I just like not that long ago, and I said, remember that UFO sighting I had, Janine? She goes, damn right, I remember that. You came home, I came home, and you were like, And I never really talked about it, and it doesn't really matter because my case is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with my position on the phenomenon. But yeah, I did have.
It doesn't have nothing to do with
I don't
it.
think it does. I don't know because I didn't really talk about it. It certainly. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I saw something.
Anyway.
The only thing I know about what I saw, I was with my girlfriend at the time, Lisa, and she and I both were like, "What the is that?" Like it was more like kind of a little blob, like egg kind of thingy out our window. And she goes, "I don't know what that is. Whatever it is, I get the impression it knows we're looking at it." And I was like, "I feel the same thing. Close the blinds. And so that was a very unambiguous.
How old were you at the time?
I was 20. Yeah, but I never talked about it. Actually, my sister came home that night around midnight.
Where were you?
I was in Northern California,
What part?
Marin County.
Marin County, yeah. I had a friend that works at the Marin Auto Mart.
Yeah, West Marin. I never usually generally say the name because it's kind of a thing in the town. We don't announce but it's West Marin. But and Lisa is still around today, and I talked to her, and Janine was like, remembered it like it was yesterday. My sister who just died, and she's like, "You guys were freaked out."
She also saw it?
No, she did not see it. She got home right after it left.
So you were alone when you saw it?
Oh no, I was with Lisa.
Sorry, you were with your girlfriend
Yes,
when you
she saw it. I saw it. Yes.
And I'm sorry, you said, is she still around? Where is she?
I said, she goes, "What the fuck is that?" And I said, "I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, I get the impression that it knows we're looking at it." She goes, "I feel the same thing. Close the blinds."
And what was the shape of it?
It was like a blob, bigger than the TV. And it was like just emitting enough light where you could almost see a little glow on our faces. It was like a little higher than the trees out, like a street lamp, like higher. Not much, but a little bit. Just kind of, ambiguous, right? Like, who knows? But the weird part was that we both felt that it knew that we were looking at it. We both knew that. Like, I could call her right now.
This is before you would
I
call
had
her?
zero interest in UFOs. I didn't give a shit about UFOs.
Call her.
Really?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You do it. Call Lisa.
We gotta call Lisa, dude.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
This is how you know he's not married.
You get to call your ex.
Call an ex at any time of the day.
Hi, this is Lisa. Leave a message.
It's all right.
Maybe she calls us back.
Lisa, call me back immediately. I don't care what you're doing. It's very important. I need you to describe the UFO sighting we had back when we were 20 years old. Call me immediately.
Let's say Trump signs an executive order and he releases all the information. He confirms we have alien bodies, all the stuff. Do you think humanity collapses, or we just it's just a Wednesday and we go on?
I think, in my personal opinion, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, I think that it's exactly what the world needs right now, to me. And I want to talk about this kumbaya moment where we get together and have a group hug, but I really feel like we would see ourselves for who we really are. One race, one species, right? It would really, in my opinion, it would have a very unifying effect.
This is the Watchmen effect.
Yeah, I think so. I interviewed, and a lot of people don't believe we went to the moon. I happen to believe that we did go to the moon. I was friends with Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who's Apollo 14.
We definitely went to the moon.
Yeah, no, I totally believe that. I was friends with a number of astronauts.
When we went, maybe a little bit debatable.
But I said to him, "What was it like to go to the moon?" Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo 14, 6th man to walk the moon. And, I was telling you guys earlier, when I want to know...
Came off the bench, man.
Damn, right?
That's crazy.
6th man of the year, though.
When I want to know a story, I'll close my eyes and I'll let the words recreate the imagery in my head. So it's almost like I'm living it, And I close my eyes and he described going to the moon, and they have to go around the Earth much time. They do what's called a translunar, injection, and they have to get all the trajectory just right, and then blast the rockets, and then they coast and they go for 3 days through the vacuum of space, and then coming back again. He goes, quite honestly, James, I was so caught up with all the calculations and everything else, I might as well have been in a simulator, really, until we kind of sat on the moon. But on the way back, I had time to reflect. And he said he was looking at the Earth as it was getting bigger, slowly bigger and bigger and bigger. But he said he had this incredible epiphany about this deep sense of interconnectedness with the molecules and the craft, stars. And then, there were no borders on the Earth. It was just this beautiful oasis, this blue marble suspended in the vacuum of dark space. And he said that it was just gosh, all the wars and all the fighting and religion and just all the, you know what I mean? And he just had this incredible epiphany. He was like, I wish more politicians and world leaders could have that perspective, because it really, and I feel like that would be the effect of this. You know, people talk about financial institutions and religious institutions being impacted, and then, like, let's just say, again, we're going on the assumption that it's true that they have craft. Let's say Lockheed got some stuff and some other company that went belly up didn't get stuff. Would they sue Lockheed? You know, like, what would happen? It's like, that's an unfair advantage, or they got these unsolicited or bid contracts with the U.S. government to try to dissect and reverse engineer this stuff.
Why would religious institutions be affected? That's what I don't understand.
I wonder about that.
Destroys their whole.
But there's so much information that already does that, and they're unaffected.
I mean, they deny it for the most part.
So why wouldn't they just keep denying it? Like, I hear this argument all the time, like, God forbid they found out they're aliens. The religious institutions would just all of a sudden go, oh, we were wrong. It's like, well, we got dinosaurs, and they're like, nah, those ain't dinosaurs. Like, there's so much proof that these things.
Would Jesus had to have gone and, like, died on their planet and other planets, and you know what I mean? Does it?
Or they just go, no, we don't believe that these alien life forms are real, in the same way that they might be like, no, we don't think the dinosaurs existed 65 million years ago. And like, that is your choice, and you can have that faith, and the institution of religion is based on this idea of faith, not this idea of fact. So I just don't accept this idea that it would completely transform religiosity, because I think there's so many facts out there that would already transform it for those people who decided that they did not want to have faith in this greater power.
It does cause some type of theological reinterpretation.
Sure, but like, there's been so many different iterations of that throughout history, and it hasn't seemed to affect it that negatively. Maybe it's like the most impactful one.
Maybe.
In history, and maybe it does. And yes, you would have to reinterpret things, but like, you also got like Scientology. It's like, you know, people will believe anything, right? Like,
there was a deer hunter that I interviewed, Ricky Sorrells, for I Know What I Saw. He's actually in that film, I Know What I Saw. And he was out deer hunting in the late afternoon, very early evening, and he goes, James, I was, and he had an extraordinary encounter. And he goes, James, I was looking down because I didn't want to step on the dry oak leaves and rustle and cause the deer to bolt. So I was looking down. I was very carefully placing my feet through the forest. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm looking down. And he got this feeling of something, like just something. He's just compelled to look up. Excuse me. And he looks up and he goes, there was this object. James, he goes, it was so big, I couldn't see. He goes, I got right back and I couldn't see the edge in any direction. Like, he's like, I think a plane could have landed on this thing. That's how big it was. And he's like, wow, what the hell? I look at it, it's not really making any sound. So he takes his rifle. It's in the movie. Takes his rifle and he's got a scope. And he's a metal worker too. So he's like, I'm gonna look at this thing through my scope. He holds it up and he's looking at the metal. He's like, oh my God, there's no seams, rivets, there's no fold. Like, I've never seen metal like this before. It was like really dark gunmetal black. He's looking at it and he goes, maybe I'll pull the trigger and just see what happens.
There you go.
You know, just like, maybe will it ping off the thing or what? He starts to squeeze the trigger and he thought, you know, maybe that's not such a good idea.
Yeah.
And so, but he said, the object, he goes, James, had I blinked, I would have thought it disappeared in place. He said, for an object this big, so big, he goes, you know, you'd think it would just go like this and then go up. He goes, it didn't do that. When it disappeared, had I blinked, I thought it would have disappeared in place. It took off straight up, no air disturbance, typical. All the things you always hear about UFOs, the technology they exhibit is just
how could there be
no
air disturbance?
I don't know. I really don't know. There's a guy...
Because the laws of physics still apply to...
There's a physicist by the name of Dr. Hal Puthoff, and he and this other guy, Eric Davis, think they understand the physics and how it somehow manipulates gravity and space-time. It folds things. It would require a lot of energy. And just making sure she didn't call. But he said that the impact of that sighting got him to... He was questioning his faith, everything he'd learned about man and the world. But then I've had other people I've interviewed, theologians that are like, yeah, God created everything in the universe. Like, it's all part of the same creation. So I don't know, man. I'm not a theologian or a scholar in that regard and all. And I've actually got more questions than I do answers.
Have you seen Project Hail Mary?
No, but I love Hail Marys. I think they're awesome. I take Hail Marys every day.
There's a
I'm like, fuck it.
there's
Come on, baby.
I don't know if you watched the movie The Martian. Did you ever see that movie?
I heard about it.
Andy Weir is the guy who wrote the book that it's based on, and anyway, it's this movie. Ryan Gosling's in it, and it's really awesome. It's just an awesome movie. But what is maybe a little bit different about this movie is that, like, without giving away too much of the plot, this guy, Ryan Gosling's character, has to go like kind of save humanity. There's some like microbe that's like devouring the sun. And so he has to go try to save humanity. He goes out there and he encounters another alien spacecraft, assuming that alien spacecraft is part of this microbe that's devouring the sun. He finds out, no, it's from another species of life, another life form that is also there to figure out why this microbe is devouring the sun, because it's devouring the sun in their galaxy as well. Anyway, point is...
And they need that sun.
Well, they need that sun.
Yes.
But the point is that it's like maybe one of the first movies I saw where like the humans and aliens are not adversaries. They actually are working together to solve this problem that they're both encountering. And a common goal, right? So it's like in every alien movie I see, the aliens are just trying to kill us.
Except E.T.
Well, we're trying to kill them.
Not E.T.
Yeah.
Oh, the military, yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah,
or Close Encounters.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's exactly.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is like maybe if we had kinder versions of what we would do if we encountered aliens, they would feel more comfortable coming and hanging out. But every movie that they see about us for them, we just kill them. So maybe that's why they're in some random little town in Brazil, or they're in the desert over here. They're hovering outside of you and your girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
If more of the propaganda for us was, hey, you guys are probably sick. We'd love to get to know you. Matter of fact,
This is a really good point.
yeah.
This is a really good point. I don't interrupt you, but look up Rua, Zimbabwe Aerial School, 1994. Because I was asking myself the same question. So when I was making my second doc, again, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you just made me think of something that's really relevant to what you just said.
Sure.
While I was making my second doc on UFOs, actually, no, it was my first one. It was my first one, and I knew somebody, and you'll see imagery connected to that craft, connected to this site. So I had an in with Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg, actually, I was amazed. I woke up the other day and he was talking about one of my movies, but I was like super like, yay. But I tried to get an interview with Steven Spielberg back in the 90s, and I said, I was assuming that, I don't know, for some reason I thought he would just grant me an interview. And of course he didn't. It was through a woman named Janet Yang. And he goes, but because James is investigating UFOs and he's doing a UFO documentary, he should look into this landing case that took place in Rua, Zimbabwe at Aerial School of a UFO that landed and the occupants got out. And I was like, this guy's out of his fucking mind. I had the exact same reaction to this case right here as I did to Varginha. It can't be, therefore it isn't. There's no way a UFO could land, the occupants could get out and interact with roughly 66, possibly up to 100 kids in a playground in Africa without the whole fucking world knowing about it. Period. I mean, click on some of the imagery. Those are drawings done by the kids. But, so I started thinking about it, and I'm going, well shit, if I was a UFO and I'm getting shot at over military installations, and I can give you countless cases there. We have shoot first, ask questions later. I mean, I can't think of a more benign present than school children. I mean, if I was going to make contact, that's probably where the hell I'd do it. If I was getting shot at, like, you know what I mean? Like we're so hostile. Like, really? We're going to like, I feel like horrible that, like, you know, again, alleged cases where we take a hostile position towards the unknown. Like, we should put our arms down and make peaceful contact, not fucking aggression.
One little
The
thing.
technology they're explaining. Do you know about this case?
Yeah.
This case is fucking amazing. I did a film called The Phenomenon.
What were you going to say about this?
Yeah, good.
It's interesting because a lot of these cases, when witnesses and people that I've even talked to that have had like firsthand experiences, they always describe similar messages, which I always find interesting. I'm like, are they pulling these from each other? But they're always messages of like, you need to protect Earth. Like, this is a valuable resource and you guys should take a good job with it. You guys should be kind, or you guys should unify and be less violent. It's like it's a recurring theme that always comes up with these.
Very, very, very good point. And I'm going to tell you, I don't even own the phenomenon anymore. Okay, so nothing. Even go watch it on YouTube Movies. I don't own it. It's got nothing to do. I made it. It's a long story. Doesn't matter. But I interviewed Senator Reid, former Senate Majority Leader, who started that UFO project. And I asked him during a walk and talk, and I had a very limited time with him, what was one of the more interesting aspects of the phenomenon that you guys learned about during this 10-year secret Pentagon investigation? Without a moment's hesitation, he goes, they're shutting off our nukes. And they're interacting with these highly sensitive military installations where we house nuclear weapons.
The aliens are doing that.
These objects are doing that, yes. What do you call them, aliens or whatever the hell they are? Could be us coming back in the future to save ourselves.
I've heard this argument that like they start coming around once we develop the nuke and they see it as an existential threat to us.
They're always spotted around nuclear testing sites, stuff like that.
Yeah, so
what's the argument for that? That they're worried about annihilation.
So, okay, this is interesting. There's a really good point. And to your point earlier about the benign presence of children, like if you were going to make peaceful contact, I'd probably do it through children. The military is going to shoot your ass.
That was your point.
Yeah, that's my point. But you kind of said also that to make contact with
we need better propaganda. Is what his
okay, yeah.
Well, I said whatever country makes it look like whenever the aliens come, we're going to be nice to you, is the one they're going to go to. And if they have all the good tech, then we should make it a little bit more like, hey, come on.
I interviewed a launch control officer. I did a whole segment on UFOs and nukes. Robert Hastings helped me put that together with the witnesses and stuff. But I did a whole segment on these, talking about, these incursions over these highly sensitive military installations. And I interviewed this one military launch control officer, Robert Salas. And I could see why he was a launch control officer, because he had like this measured, calm, like temperament. Like the kind of guy that if a UFO lands, he'd be like, hey, there's a UFO that just, or I need to, hit the switch and launch he was very calm, very just calm. And he goes, well, the message from an incursion that happened, I think it was Maelstrom, 1966 or 68 or something like that. And he goes, well, the message was rather clear to me. He goes, it's almost like taking matches out of the hands of a baby. So you're making contact potentially with children, schools you're landing, and then you're taking and disabling these very destructive military weapons, right? They have exhibited a technology that, according to all the witnesses I've ever talked to, fly rings around our fastest jets and could make a mockery out of our, technology and just like destroy us immediately, but they're not. So, perhaps we should try more peaceful contact. I don't know. Again, this is speculation.
What do they have against the Japanese? Because they didn't really step in before that.
Yeah, they did let that one fly. That was kind of disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mentioned this on Joe Rogan. This is really cool because I was in Africa investigating the Ariel school case, and the school teacher, who's now the head mistress, Bates, she had kept all the original drawings that the children had done in 1994 of what they saw. It's fascinating stuff. And I took photographs of all the various drawings of the entities, and the craft, and really amazing. And then I flew to Australia, and I was investigating a landing case that happened at school in Australia. It took place in 1966. It was Shane Ryan did a film on it. Westall Primary School, I believe, just outside Melbourne. And I was just talking about this incredible case. I was meeting with Australian researchers, and I was like, God, I just investigated this landing case that took place at a school in Africa in 1994. And I was showing them pictures, and they were like, oh, God, that looks like the Wandjina. That the Aboriginals had talked about the Wandjina descending from the heavens. They put it on this 5,000-year-old cave paintings. And I was like, holy shit, the similarities between what the children had drawn in 94 made hair on the back of my neck stand up straight. I was like, it's one of those arguments where one could easily say, shit, this phenomenon's been with us forever, right? And maybe they took a particular interest when we became a nuclear power or started detonating nuclear weapons. Maybe that signaled a certain point in our evolution or something, or technological, I don't know. Because, there has to be a connection, because there definitely is an increased, frequency of sightings that have happened in or around the detonation of the first atomic bomb at Trinity site in 45. I've seen like a connection there. I make those kind of samples in a film, The Phenomenon. If anybody out there has any doubt that we're dealing with something that's real, we don't know what it is exactly, watch The Phenomenon, because I set it up.
You break it all down.
Yeah, I break it all down. I start in the early 40s and I bring it up to pretty much modern day with lots of great archival footage, lots of great cases.
Can we do like a quick, just like a rapid fire breakdown of the most popular kind of UFO events or related sites, etc. So like we know these names. For example, Roswell. Why is Roswell known? And we can just do rapid fire. Roswell. Why is that known? And why does the casual person know about Roswell? What exactly is it? Like I can go, oh yeah, I've heard of Roswell, but I don't even really know what the fuck happened there. Area 451. I know about it, but I don't really know what happened there outside of, meeting with Bob.
Yeah, so I investigated a case through the daughter of Kenneth Arnold, Kim Arnold. And Kenneth Arnold is the one that essentially coined the phrase flying saucer in June of 1947. He was a pilot and he was flying Oregon. You can look him up, Kenneth Arnold. Anyway, his story got a lot of attention. He saw these what looked like these craft, almost like a stingray-shaped craft. He described them as almost like a saucer skipping across water, and that coined the phrase flying saucer, and it became headline news around the world. There he is, Kenneth Arnold. I interviewed his daughter. Coincidentally, he had a visit from men, according to his daughter, that threatened him because he was incredibly famous. This was catapulted on the front page of the news everywhere. You look up June, whenever the sighting he had in June 24th. His story was published all over, exploded around the world. Then, and everyone's looking for what he's describing, and there was a massive wave, and then Roswell happens, and it was like, hey, maybe one of these discs that everyone's been talking about, we have a crash here. And apparently people were like, why would they come all across the universe and crash? Well, who knows? Did we shoot it down? Was it interfered in some kind of new revolutionary radar systems that caused the navigation to malfunction? Who knows? Speculation, weather,
probably
lightning.
female alien.
Yeah. Oh, please. So anyway, so we know about Roswell because of, the Kenneth Arnold thing catapulted this whole topic into the limelight. Flying saucers. Roswell is the first time any military admitted to having captured one. They actually said they did. It's gotten a lot of attention because of researchers that helped expose it. It just became kind of a household name. I'm trying to think of other cases that might have been a household name. I could think of maybe Phoenix Lights, close.
Betty and Barney Hill, maybe?
Betty and Barney Hill is pretty damn good, 1961, New Hampshire. That was a case that Stanton Friedman had done extensive work. A lot of people did, but that's a fascinating case. What's the other?
Roswell was mass sighting, though?
Roswell, no, it wasn't a mass sighting. I mean, there were a lot of people that were connected one way, like Varginha,
Got it.
Oh, my cousin's sister saw the military presence, but he was threatened. We saw, my friend was in the debris field. This person at the impact site. It was lots of little, you know what I mean?
And then Area 51 they were reverse engineering.
Area 51 became famous because of George Knapp. George Knapp is the one that put former anonymous Bob Lazar on camera. I think it was 1989.
Right.
And that exploded.
And what are your thoughts on Bob?
I think Bob believes everything he's saying. And I think more and more information is starting to come around where he, again.
Do you believe what he's saying?
I kind of do.
Why do you kind of not?
Stanton Friedman, who I was really good friends with, said that he tried to find his records at various institutions where he claimed to have been working at, and had a really hard time verifying.
MIT specifically?
Some stuff.
Yeah.
But since then, more stuff has been surfaced. And Luigi just did a film, S4, I think. And more people are starting to come around. Maybe that is. I'm impressed with his character. I've looked him in the eyes. I shook his hand right after he came out. He said I had no choice. That's all he said to me. Mm-hmm. And I believe that he believes what he's saying, and even him saying I might have been exposed to some stuff. So if I had to say, I think I believe him. Yeah, I think I believe it.
So you think that he was reversed?
It's just like me when you ask me about Dr. Italo, do I believe unequivocally beyond a shadow of doubt he had face-to-face contact? I'm leaning heavily into believing it because I can't find a motive for him to lie, and we chased his ass down.
So
right?
you think he was reverse engineering the alien spacecraft?
I think that maybe he was called in to take a look at some of the stuff, quite possibly.
But he
you have to
claims
look
that he was reverse engineering.
No,
it.
that
That's
he
why
was trying to, yes.
Right. And
Yeah.
do you think that we have figured it out?
I'm not convinced of that. No. I interviewed a guy named Kirk McConnell who investigated UFOs from 2017 to 2025, I think, or 2024, in an official capacity. He was in the skiff with like Marco Rubio and others, and he indicated to me that he had heard some pretty compelling firsthand eyewitness testimony of craft exhibiting this type of technology that we were talking about earlier in or around military installations, which would be an indication to me that if that were true, that we have managed to reverse engineer some of this. But I don't know. I don't know enough to be able to give an educated I don't know.
People will speculate that like a lot of technological advancements outside of even aerospace comes from recovered craft. So like people talk about like Intel chips. There's like a whole theory that came out of like Roswell, I think, and that it was specific elements of like how silicone could be used to transfer data came from these kinds of things is what people speculate. And that they'll say that there's like connections between when it was invented and the Skunks Works projects that it came out of and the timeline of crash retrieval, etc.
I interviewed a guy named Philip Corso at the 50th anniversary of Roswell, and that's what he wrote a book called The Day After Roswell.
Right.
And he talked about integrated microchips, high tenacity fiber. He said to me on camera, and again, I'm not saying that like I totally believe, I mean, he actually told me he's coming forward for his grandchildren, but he said that they found like fishing line, and that the fishing line turned out to be fiber optics. They look like fishing line. Fiber optics, super tenacity fibers, high-speed chips or something, and that they had unknowingly integrated some of this into the military industrial complex. Like, hey, check this out. This might come from the Russians. See if you can figure this out. That's what he said.
People are working on it unknowingly.
There were some, yes, exactly. So you take it to Lockheed Martin and say, hey, we think this might be Russian. Can you guys check it out? And he was going to file a lawsuit against his book, The Day After, I think it was called The Day After Roswell. Roswell, The Day After, or The Day After Roswell. And because there were some inconsistencies, because according to him, and people have tried to debunk him because of those inconsistencies, that it was rushed to print to ride the coattails of the 50th anniversary of Roswell, which happened in July of 1997. So it went without a proper copy edit, and so he said there were some inconsistencies. And based on those inconsistencies by William Burns, according to Corso, that's what he told me, that some people have tried to debunk his testimony, but I believed him.
Is there any popular UFO theory that you don't believe?
I find it hard to believe that we've been hiding that revolutionary technology for over 80 years.
Got it.
I find that hard to believe.
Anything, okay, so you don't believe that we've been hiding the UFO technology?
I don't think so.
That's quite plausible, this idea like, hey, we came across this, can you guys check it out? And you give it to the military industrial complex and they start making things. That's quite interesting to me. Okay, any other popular UFO myth that you have debunked? This is helpful stuff because I think it almost gives more credibility to the ones you do believe.
Yeah. I wish so badly that I could sit here and tell you guys I knew what was going on. I really do. I want to know so bad.
Yeah.
Like so bad. Like burning desire. And I'm getting
Do you think
older.
you'll know in your lifetime?
No, I don't think so.
And yet you still keep on searching it.
I do. I think I want to know, like, for instance, I feel like I could have a court case, right? And I could bring enough evidence to convince a jury that the phenomenon is real, that these objects have been demonstrating revolutionary technology in our skies for decades. I think I have enough compelling radar data and photographic evidence and firsthand eyewitness testimony to put that case to bed, right? Okay, the question is origins and intent. I think I could probably demonstrate a number of cases. I could think of 1964 Socorro, New Mexico, where entities are connected directly to the craft and the military knew about it. And they did everything they could to cover that aspect of the phenomenon up. And I could go on till I'm blue in the face, you guys to sleep, but about why I believe that. So I believe there are very credible reports of entities, of non-sentient human beings connected to some of these sightings, 1,000 cases. So I believe that. The question is origins and intent. Where do they come from? What are they doing? What do they want? Who are they? Is it us from the future? Is it all the above? Is it time traveler? Is it people operating in a slightly different dimension? Maybe they, like a radio signal, you just change the frequency and boom, all of a sudden you got, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. And I think that the government doesn't really know either. And I think that's a problem because by confessing what they do know, and even if they have the bodies and technology, they don't know where they come from, what are they doing here? That could be a little scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I remember Jacques Vallée saying to me one time years ago, you know, when I was just like bright-eyed and bushy, you know, like, you know, what, you know, and he looked at me and he's like, think of the secrecy more of a question of what they don't know than what they know. And I always thought, wow, that's an interesting point. Son of a bitch, I never looked at it that way. Because if you think about it, justification for secrecy was probably pretty much like, you know, I guess secrecy was justified back in 47. They probably were like, whoa, hold on a second. Let's figure this shit out. What the hell is this? What are these creatures? Like, you know, whoa, deny it. Kill the story. Of course, most of the people that were involved in killing the story came forward later and said the story was killed. It was not of this earth. But with justification, like, you know, hey, let's figure some of this out before we just like freak the shit out of the world population. But now it's like all these years later, it's like, come on, man. Like, the jig's up. Like people, I don't think they're going to put the genie back in the bottle at this point. I really don't.
You know how you almost ignored the situation in Brazil and the other place? Has there been any other instances that you haven't reported on because there's not enough like evidence or?
Varginha. For one, I went 15 years.
No, he's one that you haven't reported on.
Well, Varginha I didn't because, I know your question. I'll get to this in a second. I filmed in Varginha for 13 years and I threw it all away.
Wow.
Because I didn't have enough.
Wow.
So I went back to the drawing board and I got the people I needed to get. And then I said, okay, I'm going to report on it now. But I had people in Brazil go, what are you doing? We spent 12 years. What are you doing? I said, dude, we don't have enough.
What about besides
It's not
that?
good enough. Yes.
Where?
There was a case that happened not that long ago in Las Vegas. Started looking into that. I was like, my bullshit meter. No, thanks. And I didn't report on that.
So there are a bunch of people who
There were some witnesses that I got. I was like, you know, and I'm not perfect. I don't have a perfect, I mean, I try. You know, there's some people that have some questionable backgrounds. I've done the best I can to validate, like got their military records, I got their photographs. But people that could be a little off their rocker, I try to do a good job at sifting through it. I mean, I've been at it for a long time.
Have you ever been visited by the men in suits?
No, but it's really funny. This is really funny. So I was at Age of Disclosure premiere in New York City.
I was going to ask. Yeah.
And Leslie Kane, she wrote the article for the New York Times.
Okay.
And I see Leslie over there hanging out with some dudes in suits. And there was like the screening, and then they had a Q&A, and then they went out to this aircraft carrier, and they had like a catered event with little good finger foods and drinks. And I was like, I need to talk to that guy. I need to talk to this guy. I was like, DIA, like, you know. And Leslie's like, you know, across the room, and Leslie and I know each other really well. I was one of the first people to put her on camera back in the late 90s or early 2000, maybe 2000. And I walk over to Leslie, and she's with these dudes in suits. It's like, dude, could you be any more fucking obvious? Like, really? And she's like, this is so-and-so from the agency or, you know, the bureau, whatever. And I started talking to them, and I was like, yeah, because, you know, I've been investigating this case. And the guy goes, oh, dude, we know exactly who you are. We follow everything you do. And he didn't say it to me in a threatening way, but it was like, yeah, dude, you're being, trust me, we know your every move.
And they were FBI guys?
Yeah, FBI, yeah, definitely the bureau, yeah, I assume it's FBI, yeah. But, you know, I did an event at the press on the steps of the Capitol recently, and I got pinged by someone, I can't say who, I can show you the text off air, but it was like, the second down from the DNI is going to be watching your event on the steps of the Capitol, you know, which is just a couple of weeks ago.
So the fact that they haven't spoken to you, does it make you feel like you're not deep enough yet?
Well, no. Who said that they haven't spoken to me?
You.
I didn't say that.
I said, have you been visited by the men in the
Well, I would
suits?
say visited. We've gotten together. I went into a skiff.
Yeah.
I went into a bloody skiff, you guys. It's just like a scene out of the damn movies. I got invited into a skiff. I can't say why.
What's a skiff?
Skiff is a sensitive, compartmentalized information facility. It's like almost like a lead-lined room where you can go and release classified information so that others can't spy on you.
Yeah.
And so I got invited, and the new head of ARROW, which is, what's the acronym for ARROW? Anomalous Resolution Desk or Office.
Whatever.
Whatever, exactly. Thank you. And I got to meet the new head of that UAP task force, John Kosklowski, and, talking to these guys. They're like, well, we're considering, releasing this footage. And they showed it to me. And I was like, that's not what this other guy saw. That you guys are going to get laughed at if you release that. That's so inconsistent. Da, da, da. And I was like, what about this case and this and da, da, da. And we just talked about it like the phenomenon. We based our conversation on the foundation that the phenomenon's real. There's no fucking debating. Like, they knew I knew my shit, and they knew, come on, let's not kid each other. And the head of ARROW looked at me and he goes, James, I can't part my hair without the approval of the DOD. At the time it was DOD, now it's DOW. And you can quote me on that. And so I did. And basically what he was saying is, I don't give a shit what I uncover, because without their approval, it's not going to see the light of day. And so that's kind of changing, but it's interesting. And so I'd met with, I go have dinner with people when I go to DC. I meet them at various locations and we talk. And there's no discussion is the phenomenon is real or not.
So when
it's like what's coming out, how it's going to come out, the impact it's going to have, how are we going to do it.
So then you do know.
Well,
you said you'll never know in your lifetime.
No, but that doesn't mean that I know what the fuck's going on.
Oh, know what's going on is very different than know if there are alien life forms that have
the
visited
phenomenon
us.
is real. That's not even a point.
No question in your mind.
No fucking question. None.
None.
This is what is it?
And you've spoken to higher ups that have clearance and
many times,
and they have confirmed as much to you.
Many times. I had generals in the late 90s telling me good luck with this story. Swear to God.
And is it possible if this is the all-time...
But just because you know it's real doesn't mean you know what it is.
Sure. But this is all-time skeptic of me going like,
of course.
Is it possible they're using you?
No, because I went without them for 25 years.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's the advantage that I have.
Yeah.
Is that I did all the field research. I went to China, I went to Russia, I went to Australia, I went to Africa, and I talked directly to the witness. Forget about the military. I'm only recently, in the last 5, 6, 7 years, meeting with intelligence folks.
Why do the alien... Last thing.
Yeah, of course.
Why do the aliens have almost no interest in Europeans?
I'll tell you what.
What is it about that?
I got probably one of the best landing cases that took place in Trans-en-Provence in 1980. And it's a UFO disc landed in a guy's yard.
And then immediately it was like, these French are in the I gotta get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
Smoking this cigarette gitan. Anyway, and this guy was building a little well. And I went to go get him on camera in the 90s. At the time I was dating this girl, Angelica. She was gorgeous. I couldn't get him to come outside. He was just like, yeah. I'm in his yard. He's like, yeah, like this. And then Angelica comes out and she's looking pretty hot in her little, and he just goes, he comes right outside and started talking to him. But eventually, he's speaking of Europe, and he said that he was building this well, blazing hot sun of the summertime, and he sees this disc come out of land and it leaves all these trace marks on the ground, blah, blah. His wife comes home and he tells her, what he'd seen. And she goes, oh, honey, it was really hot. And, you were hallucinating and you hallucinated. You had heat stroke, So these are the kind of things. I'll tell you what, I have a neighbor in Vermont, 3 or 4 years, peppering me with all kinds of questions. Like, gee, I was like, come on. People are interested in what I do, but this guy's next level. He was like, just wouldn't stop, Jeff. And finally one day, after several years, I was like, Jeff, you really like,
you're in.
And he's like, 1980, Greenbush Road. and then he tells me this incredible encounter with a flying saucer. I mean, fucking incredible. He had this incredible encounter with his buddy, 8 o'clock at night, very close, comes home, tells his wife, same thing. She goes, what were you smoking? Like, so he didn't talk about it for 40 years.
Wow.
So you hear like these cases all over the world. I tell you, Meng Jiaoguang in China, in the Black Forest, 1994, same message the African kids got of like not destructing the planet, to technology, like better caretakers.
Yeah.
It's just like, God damn it, man, what's going on?
Do you believe the anal probe stuff?
You know, there's a case that happened in upstate, oh God, where was that? It's called the Allagash 4, I think it is. And it's the funniest shit ever. And apparently they got the anal probe, so to speak. But it's one of the funniest lines. Allagash 4, I think it was. And they said they're on a lake at night and they see an orb kind of similar to what I saw, but bigger, you know? And they're looking at it and on a canoe fishing at night. And he goes, guy was like, he was a school teacher. He's like, I was kind of curious. Look what it was. Took out my flashlight. At the object from across the lake. He goes, that fucking thing responded immediately. It went from all the way across the lake in the trees to
right up,
over the top of the fucking boat in the fucking millisecond. And he goes, it's the funniest line. He's like, at which point my curiosity was fully satisfied. But they talk about all these kind of, then they started having nightmare dreams about exactly what you were referring to. So yeah, and then Betty and Barney Hill talked about the anal probe, and I joke about that shit all the time too, because
you don't think it's bullshit, the anal probe.
Yeah, I think they get subjected to various experiments like we would do when we capture a little blood samples, semen samples. Who knows?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I had a friend that did Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind pretty recently.
Now, what exactly is that?
It's bizarre, right?
What is that?
So I think this comes out of
I should know what that is.
Dr. Stephen Greer, I think, is the one
is that
that
when
kind of
people try to contact these things?
Exactly.
Or something like that? Okay.
And
see, I'm highly dubious of that shit.
So my buddy basically said he's like interested in this kind of stuff, and he's like a very straight shooting guy. He works in like the music business and does like management and A&R and stuff. And he's always been like kind of curious about UFO stuff. So he goes to this thing apparently where they can summon UFOs, and he's like, all right. And so he's like, I'm curious. So him and a buddy it's like a group, and they go out upstate, kind of like into like the woods. Like
they pay like 10 grand
or something like that. I don't even know how much.
I'm kidding.
And you kind of like do this sort of like ritual thing, and they kind of like meditate, and they sort of like kind of like collect their energy or something to that effect. I don't know all the details, so I'm sorry if I'm off on this. And then
is this what the whole like sunning your asshole trend is about?
Oh
yeah,
God!
Trying to summon the aliens.
Showing a blueprint.
Come over here, guys.
You know where to go.
Yeah.
The probe goes here.
Please.
And he basically was like,
can't handle the truth.
I see. He basically just says like, yeah, I see all these weird lights. He's like, I see these weird, bizarre lights, and they're multicolored, and they kind of like apparate, and they kind of like dance around, and I'm like blinking, trying to see if it's like a thing in my field of vision, is like a drone, whatever. And they get pretty close, and they look like orbs, and then they go away. And he's like, I don't know how they're able to do it. It might be like a hoax that they do as like a group where they bring these drones in. Maybe it's a light show. He's like, I don't know what happened, and it's a very strange thing. And it's a thing that apparently anyone can go do, where you join these groups and you
Did he
see
wake up
crazy
when his pants were on backwards? No, I'm kidding. No, but you know, actually, I went out with a guy named Dr. Stephen Greer, and you know, everybody in the UFO community has there's all this mudslinging going on. I try not to engage in any of it but I remember in the 90s, I was like, let me go see if there's any validity to this summon UFO. You know, to me, I went out there just to like basically just say it's full of shit. Full of shit. And I went out there, and I got to say, we saw our whole group of maybe 30, and I don't know what they were. They would kind of move around and change directions. So satellites just go like this, right? Or maybe that direction or whatever, you know. We did see a couple things, pinpoints of light that looked like almost like a star, maybe a little brighter, kind of change trajectory and move around the sky. I did see that on that particular
excursion.
Yeah.
And that's more or less what he said.
But I was like super ambiguous, like, you know. But I did see something that went, okay, that's interesting.
So that's kind of how I button all these things up, where I'm like, okay, either all these people are lying, either all these people are having these collective delusions, maybe there's being fed information by the government, or maybe there's something going on that's just weird and unexplainable. Maybe there's a military connection that we don't really know. Maybe it's all these things. But I don't know. I leave room where I'm like, there's maybe something going on. I just don't know.
So the push for, we could get answers right now, and we can call the bluff of these many whistleblowers and intelligence insiders without asking for a penny, without asking for any congressional action, we're going to make a direct plea to the president of Trump, and just there's no harm in with the stroke of a pen. These guys are saying, I'll give you the details needed to verify these extraordinary claims. We'll do it. Just give me immunity. Let's call their fucking bluff. Why not? The implications are so profound. I mean, wouldn't you like to know? I'd like to know what Grush knows that he can't tell us. I'd like to know what Hal Puthoff knows that he can't tell us, or Eric Davis, or Lou Elizondo, or any of these other folks that have come forward and testified, mind you, under oath to Congress. You can get jail time for lying to Congress. You don't even have to be under oath. These guys are testifying under oath, and now they're going to be saying, give me immunity, Mr. President, and I'll tell the world what I know.
Why would they need immunity? Because they're sharing classified
jail time, NDAs. You look up violation of NDA, and especially if it's national security related, they'll lock your ass up and throw away the fucking key. Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah.
All right, well, look. Grush, how do you pronounce his name?
David Grush.
Grush. David. Just spill it, bro. Like, just come on the pod and spill it. Man. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen.
President Trump to wave his stroke of a pen. That's it.
Do you really think they're gonna lock you up for saying there's aliens? People have been saying there's aliens forever.
Look up violation of NDA's national security. Look it up. Just Google it.
Sure, but I'm saying if they lock them up for saying it, it confirms they exist. If they don't lock them up, it confirms maybe that they don't exist and that he's just full of shit. So by proxy of the information, he won't get locked up.
Or President Trump give him immunity and give all these other people immunity. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? They have signed NDAs and others that risk prison time and some fear even worse. Protect them. Why not? What's the harm in protecting them?
You heard it here first. James Fox, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.